Switch on our sound. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the fail Portrayal. See, there's quite a lot of you watching. I guess you're excited for Labyrinth. So, last time it was mentioned that we finished out a deck build pack. We have covered all of the deck build pack archetypes from Grand Creators with Exo Sister. Which I keep wanting to say Exor Sister, but there's only one R. And that was a grand old time. A deck that, you know, has its potential and is pretty solid, but definitely could use some more flexible options in their extra deck. Now we're going to talk about a deck that has no in-archetype options in the extra deck, and you're free to just do whatever. And honestly, I should say this, Konami should be very concerned about giving them more extra deck options, honestly, TBH. Because the few that you can play when you Fiend Lock yourself are already pretty good.
Because you've got what? You've got a critical mass of
all the nightmares,
and 8, and just nightmare links.
Yeah, Muckraker. Yeah, this deck is very good at a 4-axis. The fact that there's only like a handful of good Fiend 4s is like what keeps them back. Because otherwise, you can already under the Welcome Lab lock make Baguska pass. If for some reason your plays do get stalled.
You can make #1 Infection Buzz King.
Yeah, but like the main thing is like you can't do Redoer. You can't actually do that one generic rank 4 that's like a plant that's actually good for normal traps. Also, hey, chat, once again, YouTube is yelling at me, so let me know if you can hear us, okay? If everybody's doing all right.
And there are a couple 4 fiends that they may be outdated, but they're still really good, like Exoton, Baguska, Dugares. There are still some.
You can do Dugares plays. I think Evil Swarm Thanatos is still good if you're going for stun stuff. I think he's a fiend.
Yeah, 2 level 4 darks.
Yeah, your whole deck is dark. Also, the very funny thing that I feel like has to be intentional. I almost feel like obviously we're saving that for someday when we decide to do like Chaos. Every card that's named Chaos something. That Chaos Angel might as well be a Labyrinth archetype card because its requirements are just light or dark monsters, and its effect is, hey, for this card's Synchro Summon, you can use a light or a dark as a tuner. Stovey Torby is a 2 that constantly summons himself back from the graveyard, and both of your big monsters are 8s. One of whom is basically a free special summon, so making Chaos Angel is like the easiest fucking thing in the world. You've got your entire nightmares.
I feel like a good way. I feel like the Chaos episode should be our finale, or our finale at that point.
Our finale of our consistency,
climax.
Of our consistent showings.
Yeah, because we'll like you said, Fair Betrayal does have like a time limit. I don't know if it will be, like, we'll do a big climax when we hit the end of deck build packs or whatever, or if there'll be some other, like, just anime stuff to pick and choose at, you know, still maybe do an occasional one for a Patreon poll, because you guys do seem to like that, but, yeah, hitting up everything that's Chaos named is gonna be funny.
Will we include the Chaos numbers?
No, I want to do the numbers episode as, like, a stretch goal for something. I don't know when and where. Maybe 35 subs or like 3,200 something.
If we do the numbers, like it's already like it's like 1 to 100. It's like 1 to 105, but there are also like 4 or 5 that have double numbers because they're like the fake numbers, like 1 through 5. And
yeah, there's a lot of weird shit out there.
Yeah.
And then there's, you know, the chaos versions. It would be a time. It would be good as a thing to do as a marathon stream, but I'm not doing that for free, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk about Labyrinth today. Labyrinth is, once again, funnily enough, an actual competitive archetype. Now, admittedly, with Tactical Masters, the deck build pack we're on, most people didn't seem to think these would be competitive. I do believe that when people were labbing the pack, Labyrinth was seen as the best, but I was talking about this a little bit before we got on air. Labyrinth is a deck of Dark Fiends that is centered around normal trap cards, and in the TCG anyway, common wisdom from everybody was, well, this archetype's pretty good, but it's based around normal traps, so, like, how good could it be? And the answer is pretty good. This was a top-tier deck for a while, and honestly, I think the only reason why it's not a top-tier deck right now is that Well, one, you got to worry about some of your weird interactions with Snake Eyes clogging your back row zones, turning your monsters into continuous spells. But also, just in general, I don't think with the current ban list, Lab does enough to actually stop decks like Fire King or Snake Eyes, because Fire King just blows itself up constantly.
Well, and like the other thing too is like a lot of I think like at some point, if people go back in time to if you re-lab out the old format where like Lab first came out, I'm sure it was always like a tier, like a tiered strategy.
Yeah.
It was more just at the time people did not realize that there was always a critical mass of normal trap cards that the deck was insane with.
Yeah. It's the same as with like Runic, right? Where people looked at Runic as a pure mill strategy and were like, okay, this is cute, but it's not going to win anything. It's only later that they realized, like, wait a minute, this is a deck that doesn't play monsters or plays minimum monsters. That means that there's like room for an engine in here, and we can make stun too.
Yeah, this isn't a mill deck. This is a deck with 20 instant fusions.
Yeah.
As someone that labbed mill Runic, it was fun, but it's not reliable in the slightest.
Yeah, it's cute. I tried the mill strategy as well. Like, it's funny, but it's just not. It doesn't have enough gas, which is why you worked in the other tech. Is it a reply? Shit. Sorry, I saw a tweet last night that was MBT replying to a deck list. I think it was a reply, which is why I can't find it on his Twitter. But it's like, he was replying to some deck that got a top cut in a YCS and called it Stun 3. And I'm like, oh, what terror? There it is. Salvation Horus here. I'll post it for you.
I found it. Yeah.
I found the link. I'll post it. I'll put it in the corner chat while we're working.
Oh my
Where's
god! It's Vanities and Majesty's Fiend.
Yeah, so here it is, Salvation's Horus. The main deck is the Horus engine, the Vanities engine, gold Sarks and stuff, and then just all this terrible evening stuff. You've got Rainbow Bridge.
I love the one Mausoleum of the Emperor.
Yeah. You get a single mausoleum. You've got 3 skill drain, 3 evenly, 3 summon limit, the 1 Teakboo you're allowed to play.
You're not here to have fun. You're here to make everyone else not have fun either.
Yeah, we are literally playing Stun 3. Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't look at this and feel like you like what you're playing. You just like that no one else is having fun.
You're just here to grind out some wins, which is very funny in a Master Duel ladder, but not great. Also, I should say I haven't mentioned it yet.
I found the guy who made this deck.
I am
right now. Fuck him.
It's a little subtle, it's a little low, but right now, chat, you are enjoying the full album of the Hades original soundtrack. I was going to look for dungeon crawling music, but I'm not actually familiar with many classic dungeon crawling games, and Hades is well regarded in that thought, and I'm like, okay, fuck it, we'll go with that. That's good music at least.
Is like the dungeon crawl game, I would say.
There's a few
It's
different
where you make your own map as you dungeon crawl.
Yeah, I think if I remember rightly, when I played it like on the GBA, there was a port of like the Game Boy Advance version of like D&D Eye of the Beholder. I think that had a cute little soundtrack, but that's like, all MIDI-fied and stuff. So I'm like, I could like rip up grab SMT music, but I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't know anything besides the Persona vibes, and like that's not quite the right.
I could probably grab you a track or two.
There is Persona Q, which is just Entry and Odyssey.
That is true.
Persona Q
games I never actually played Q, so I'm like, I wouldn't.
Q has good music.
Q's fine. Like
know the vibes right off the top of my head. So I was like, fuck it, we'll just pick Hades, because we're gonna talk about Labyrinth, like I said, and Labyrinth is a interesting little archetype. So it's funny. The Wikipedia does a freaking deep cut here, where they call to trap 'em up video games like the Koei Tecmo series Deception and its spin-off Trapped, which have not existed since 2015. Though admittedly, the last one in their title was an expansion pack to Deception 4 Blood Ties called Deception 4 the Nightmare Princess. So yeah, I don't know. It's a really like weird situation we're in, but yeah. Another one might be like the actual like dungeon maker and dungeon keeper type games. You know, you're building a trap filled with dungeon. The other thing to say about this archetype, not intentionally, it just so happens, I suspect there may be someone in the writer's room, you know? Actually, hold on, I have to pause my music, because... Okay, I do still hear... I hear a slight background noise from Loth. It won't come across in the stream when I got my music playing, but I'm like, hold on, is my audio still working? Yeah, we're good. It's fine, Loth, don't worry about it. I literally had to pause the background music because I saw you lighting up, and I'm like, shit, I don't hear the sound. What is it?
No, it's
We're
my
okay.
fans. It's
I know.
not-
Like, trust me, I know. But it's for some reason we've entered a certain zone of we're doing back-to-back sapphic themes. It's not my fault. This is just how Konami designed the archetypes. I will say I think Labyrinth is a slight bit more interpretational in its themes than Exorcister. Exorcister is literally, yes, hello, we're going to perform a ritual of sisterhood. Eternal sisterhood. But one, if you don't know, the knight in the Labyrinth archetype, who is unnamed but is known, is a woman. You can see her from, or if she's not a woman,
They're a chibi thing.
They are incredibly effeminate at
yes,
the very least.
he is a man who pulls off a skirt really well, because you can see the knight from behind in our thumbnail, Big Welcome Labyrinth, which we will pull up later. And yeah, that's a skirt.
You can see it in both Welcome and Big Welcome. Like it's less apparent in Welcome because they're like
regular
they're
Welcome
like
is a higher up shot.
Yeah.
Big Welcome's a reverse angle. But in Barrage and Fair Welcome, they're kind of like a little, like you'd expect from like an Etrian Odyssey or something, a little chibi-fied
Very Etrian
outcome.
Odyssey, yeah.
Though in Fair Welcome, anyway, there is a panty shot, probably because it is the chibi form and therefore it's funny. So yes, now the exact vibes are not sure. It definitely seems like the Lady Labyrinth is interested in this knight. You know, she's got all her best outfits on. She's ready to get out there, set some traps, do some fun. But it may or may not be a coincidence that this archetype, which is called Labyrinth, in the TCG they specify by not using the extra Y, so it's not Labyrinth, it's Labyrinth.
I prefer to call it Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Just because it gets it across a bit better.
Yeah, you just gotta watch your extra pronunciations. But in the OCG, it's Raburinsu, which is kind of a pun because it sounds similar to how you would say in English, love you.
And I would assume it's also to avoid the literal May Q,
yes.
which was used a lot in in
literal
some Guardian
Labyrinth.
mode nonsense.
But also, again, this may be reading too far in, and I do want to caution, but just in case it isn't, the name Labyrinth and in general the name of a lot of these characters does come from the term in Greek, the labris, the double-headed axe, which is actually a symbol of lesbians. Like it's part of like the there's a labris lesbian flag. It's been used in the community. So like this is another one like where I'm pretty sure this is intentional. I don't want to read too far in, but I feel like we're doing a thing.
There's a point where the subtext just becomes the text.
Yes.
I think it's a thing where it's a vibe, and because it's mostly a card art thing, it's mostly just a visual recurring thing.
I
not
feel like
actually-
Labyrinth is much closer to text in the way the actual cards are, whereas Exosister doesn't become textual until you get to the actual, like, fluff. But yeah, so
I think it's-
let us discuss the Veebs.
I also posted some concept art from the EX books in Portrayal when we get to them.
It honestly, it always gets more of the vibe of it's more about the JRPG style of the dungeon master and her her weird staff, her weird lineup of staff members.
Well, yeah, it's a servant, but there's Vibs. We'll start with the field spell. Here it is. The probably most confusing card in English, the Labyrinth.
Yeah, the Labyrinth.
Yes. Now, there's a lot of interplay, a lot of the classic, like, Romaji and Kana, Furigana, like, symbols. So this card is both Shirogane no Mikyujo, which is Silver Labyrinth Castle, but also called Rabirinsu.
May I
again,
say one
different
dumb
lines.
comment?
Go ahead. Fire Loft.
Look at all these spiral ramps. I'm just going. This will be the greatest slides ever. Just get a sack, just go down them like. Ew.
Yeah,
It's weird to me how I feel like they literally could just make the set of like a 3D roguelike, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
Something of like where you actually have to deal with like floors going under you and you have to like
No,
fucking
it's
wall bounce
definitely
and shit.
a dungeon crawler with some aspects there. There's some fun there with these ramps and stuff. I also just want to say with all the like stairs and ramps and towers and stuff, this is if you kawaii-fied Dark Souls. Like if Dark Souls was full of I mean, it already is full of hot monstrous women if you listen to Dark Souls
Welcome
player on
to
the internet.
Anolondo.
But if it was done in an anime art style, this is what it would look like. There's a giant shiny pink heart up here, but like there's a great sense of scale. I like the vibes here. So the reason why we're talking about the field spell is because this is going to introduce us to some core concepts you need to be aware of ahead of time. Also, it's just a really good field
kind
spell.
of the main thing.
Yeah. It's just a really good field spell, and there's a reason why we play one of the servants specifically, because you're going to use her to try and fetch this, or if you already have it, to fetch a card that goes with this, because Labyrinth, Lab, it does some things which are very interesting. So its first effect reads, if you activate a set Welcome Labyrinth normal trap, note that's not set Welcome Labyrinth, that's any card that contains the phrase Welcome Labyrinth, you can add this additional effect to that card's effect at resolution. Also, after that, destroy one card on the field. So, this just straight up changes the effects of your trap cards to include a non-targeting destruction after it does all of its other stuff.
Which also doesn't do great in the current format, which also might be why it may not be.
Yes,
it may not be the greatest answer to Fire King.
Yeah, destroying Fire Kings usually helps them. This is an optional effect, but it does mean you kind of reduce some of your Sorry, I was pulling on my headphone cord there for a sec. You do kind of reduce some of your options, because a lot of Labyrinth gets advantage out of normal traps, removing cards from the field. Doesn't necessarily have to be destroy them, but removing them from the field. Labyrinth means that your 3 Welcome Labyrinth traps that we will talk about later, regular Welcome Labyrinth, Fair Welcome Labyrinth, Big Welcome Labyrinth, and someday they'll come up with a 4th pun. But for now, it just turns all of them, like I said, into a non-targeting
really
pop.
Or some dumb shit.
So yeah, it just and also because the way this works, while you do have to have your field spell unnegated to activate it, this is happening at resolution of your trap card. If your opponent doesn't think to negate or otherwise counteract the trap card itself, they have no response to this. That effect is just tacked on to when that trap card is resolving. So you can do a lot of weird chain shenanigans. I have seen a lot of people fail to play around the pop. So it's one of those things where you're going to need some of that extra energy, and you got to watch out for it. Additionally, it has a second effect, which is another crazy effect. if you activate a non-Labyrinth normal trap card, except during the damage step, you can special summon a Fiend monster from your hand or graveyard. You can use each effect once per turn, but still, when you activate your archetype trap cards, pop. When you activate a non-archetype trap card, summon a Fiend from hand or graveyard.
Yeah, and when are we gonna cover glitch? Because
yeah, we'll talk about glitch at the end.
Yeah, okay, because there will be one non-labyrinth card we covered that might as well be a labyrinth card.
Literally in the Valuable Book EX, they show Ghastly Glitch's card art as part of the story. So yeah, it's part of the archetype in all but name. But that already destroys, so.
Yeah, and it destroys, sends one, which you can then use off a non-labyrinth normal to special that Fiend monster that you just sent to the grave.
Yeah, no, it's
great.
Yeah, there's a lot of synergy here. Like we said, Labyrinth is kind of in a very funny place where, like, a lot of people didn't think it would be the best because they just didn't think about how many good trap cards there are. I probably won't show all of them, but the Wikipedia has a pretty lengthy list of, like, recommended trap cards you can play, and I can run down that list. I can tell you my personal favorites, for instance, because this is one of my primary decks in Master Duel. I have grinded out a decent number of hours in Labyrinth. And there's a lot of fun, dumb things. Some things you probably shouldn't be allowed to do, but things you can do in Lab. But basically, I think we're going to do this kind of in, like, ascending level order. We're going to start with the smalls, the furniture, and then climb all the way up to the big lady herself. That means we'll be starting with the glorious Ku Klok. Oh, hold on. Actually, that's very small. Let me see if I can get that bigger. Not that you really need, like, super great detail on this Ku Klok, but there it is. Ku Klok. He's a clock. Any synergy with Beauty and the Beast seems to be unintentional, but I would not be surprised if Japan loves Beauty and the Beast, though, you know? The Disney animated version.
Yeah, like it could easily be inspired, not inspired. It could just be like, oh well, like it's like Mimics, which JRPGs kind of not redefined, but they definitely did sort of like reshape the mold of what a mimic kind of is, which definitely fits with the furniture.
Yeah,
because they are all fiends. So
yes.
it brings to mind the idea that, like, they may not be actual furniture, but just sentient, like, contraptions or like some kind of nonsense. Yeah, includes a collection of furnishings that Her Highness the Princess elegantly and elaborately decorated.
This is one thing I will say that's kind of like makes understanding some stuff a little goofy. Most of the dialogue in the, or I should say, most of the Labyrinth entry in the Valuable Book EX3 is in dialogue format. Yeah, it's Ariana and Ariana talking. So it's like from a perspective of characters speaking. So there's not like a description of what Ku Klok or Stovey Torby is. Just that, you know, they're out there.
They're more just saying that, like, that the lovely lady of the Labyrinth has very meticulously crafted this castle into a dungeon for the knight to explore.
It, you know, awaiting the night are countless death traps and cold-blooded demons. The castle is supposed to be, you know, cursed. The curse would never be broken unless the true treasure was brought back. The true treasure may or may not be the super gorgeous princess, delicate as a white thread, ephemeral as the moon. Again, talking about, you know, our Minotaur vibes. And then a knight steps into the castle. But yes, Ku Klok looks pretty good, you know, for a clock. His name in the OCG is written as Rabirinsu Kukroku, but the Romaji text used is Labyrinth is written as Silver Castle, I should say. So Ku Klok is Mad Clock of the Silver Castle. The Silver Castle part is something that just like is lost in translation because we don't have enough space to fit literally two names for things. Japan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Mad Clock, he's a cuckoo clock. Instead of a bird, he's got a bat, a very angry bat. Otherwise, the clock itself looks pretty normal. He's got some little magic sparkles. I love this kind of like mirror or picture frame effect they've got around him where he's sitting. Like, it's almost like you're playing one of those like dungeon building video games, and like you pulled up the description of Ku Klok in the main menu.
Yeah, and I think it's the same for all of the furniture.
Yeah, they got a little frame vibe, and you can kind of see like out of focus the floor where he's set. So Ku Klok is a Dock Fiend level 1/0/0. Most of your furniture are not very tough, though. Sometimes you can just get in with Chandelier Beats. Ku Klok says, quick effect, you can discard this card. This turn, you can activate a normal trap card that was set this turn, if you control a Labyrinth monster. If a cards is sent from your hand to graveyard to activate your normal trap card, or if your Labyrinth card or effect except Ku Klok while this card is in the graveyard, you can add this card to your hand and special summon it. You can only use the effect of Ku Klok once per turn. So, this means that this is a sub-theme with all the furniture. The furniture has ways to recycle itself because they're the traps you keep setting. It's funny. I'm pretty sure when we first started labbing Lab, as it were, Ku Klok was looked at as a little weak. A lot of people were like, oh, well, how are you going to, activate set trap cards that in a way it's going to matter? But as time went on, that has become a very essential effect, especially as the deck gets new ways to set trap cards, including on your opponent's turn. So the fact that it can just quick effect pitch itself to let you activate one normal trap card, any normal trap card, by the way, not just Labyrinth trap cards, it becomes an immense tool for your interaction. And also, while yes, I think this would enable you to basically get materials back if you wanted to play cards like Geki Break, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, Karma Cut, etc. You don't really play those cards anyway. You don't really need the extra gas to play those. But Labyrinth does have enough ways, especially when you're playing the furniture. Which actually, like I said, I'm pretty sure Furniture Labyrinth as a subtype was like one that was not immediately obvious and so was developed later. I know I definitely was not sure about the little guys at first, but they are a vital part of the engine, which is why I think Chandelier and Stovey Torby, who we're about to talk about, are both at 2 in Master Duel. But yeah, Ku Klok is a card that has an effect text that is super important, activating normal traps when they are set. This is like the one thing that I think was holding back Labyrinth for a long time from being like a really, really top deck, was just the fact that like, okay, cool, you can set cards. What if your opponent does something while your cards are set, This gives you the extra action and continues those themes, like I said, of recycling itself.
Yeah, and like as we kind of mentioned, like it was something that I think was a bit of a I want to say hole, like a gap in the competitive mindset of Yu-Gi-Oh, because traps had just not been good for so long. People had not paid attention to the sheer glut of normal trap cards. As an example, I looked up normal trap cards. I want you all to just shoot from the hip on how many normal trap cards you think are in the entire card pool of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay, Yu-Gi-Oh is about we're over 10,000 cards.
Something like that.
We're over 10,000 cards. I assume purples make up, a decent chunk of the card pool.
Oh wait, it would be about.
I'm gonna say like
2,500.
yeah, let's say like 2,500.
I'm going to guess 202.
That's way too.
1,235.
Okay, so yeah, so
I
about half what I got, but
And
still,
granted, I would say at least a third of those are probably super like archetype specific. So you can cut like a couple hundred out of there, but that's still
So like
an
800
insane
cards.
amount of cards to look through for options to fuel your deck.
yeah, it's still so many names for all the slots that you don't need for other stuff.
Yeah,
because they exist. You've got them.
Like we were talking about it before stream, there are the big three of like trap holes, the magic cylinder and mirror force, like that. There's and the viruses.
Yeah.
the deck viruses, like
which have all in their time seen play, but there's
Yeah.
also so many more. I mentioned, for instance, there's the classic, the discard one to do something, Geki Break, Wing Wind Blast, very popular, Karma Cut. Compulse is crazy good. Technically, you have access to the entire Paleo line.
Paleo's another big one.
Yeah.
Honestly,
there's a lot of fun stuff there.
It took me a bit to just like dwell on it to like think of it, but like honestly, building up on one earlier point, I just imaged like all of the art in like chibi form as like I was playing an old like 3DS Dungeon Entry Artisan kind of game, but like when you actually fight them, it goes to like this version of the art where it gets kind of like more serious and like showy. It was just like everything is like a cutesy version, as like you're running
Yeah,
around
'cause,
like the big castle.
Get you a bit of
Like a
a
loading
map.
Setup. Okay,
cities.
I was trying to find the card because I know some like art in the in the EX book, but like setup is the chibis of all the furniture and the sisters,
Yeah.
like scrambling to go like the night's coming, you fuckers get in place. Get in
Yeah,
place.
then like actual fights are like the
Which
full,
also
like, actual
reveals to
series
me,
of the
like,
art.
I know, again, Konami, you're careful because this deck is good. I've realized in Labyrinth Setup, which is a card we will look at later because it is adorable, there's a little flying bat lamp. Please give me that guy. Lampy Batty. Give him to me. He's adorable.
And I think it's supposed is that Archfiend in the
I
art
think
as
that's
well?
supposed to be Archfiend. Archfiend's a weird one. We'll talk about them soon-ish. But yeah, they're an odd place. I've pulled up Stovey Torby's art, by the way, so I am glad for that overhead shot to get the perspective. They call it Stovey. The name in the OCG is Labyrinth Sutobi. Labyrinth Stovey. Or Stovey. The fire-breathing stove of the Silver Castle. That is not a stove. That is a fireplace. Literally, he is a fireplace, or she. I don't know. It's a weird cat fireplace, but I like it. It's really cool. Breathes fire.
I do a trivia of Stovey Torby. This monster is based on the stove. Just in case you didn't know.
I want to see the fucking little coal creatures from Spirited Away throwing shit into this thing.
Oh yes, those little guys. They absolutely would.
The set spirits, yeah.
Yeah, no. Stovey Torby's great. Cute as hell. I'm glad that I can see it up close and tell that it is definitely actually a fireplace. Like, I don't know about what other people are thinking of, but when I think of stove, I mean, besides a modern, electric or gas-fed stovetop, I'm thinking of, a cast iron stove, not a fireplace. Those are different installations. But I do love the creativity of these vibes with, like, the front grate forms like teeth, and then also with some of the pokers, and the form little outlines of eyes. It's got, like, a little cattail holding on to some firewood, It's great. So Stovey Torby is the mainstay, one of the mainstay effects of this deck, and is basically first of all, one of your stat lines is okay. They're a Dark Fiend level 2, like I mentioned earlier, with Chaos Angel, 0 attack, 2k defense, so a decent body blocker. And you certainly
it
can't
turns
summon
out
it.
it's hard to punch a stove or
Yeah.
a fireplace.
It's all marble, baby. Quick effect. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and discard a card. Set a Labyrinth spell trap from your deck or hand. If a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card's in your graveyard except during the damage step, you can special summon this card. You can use each effect of Stovey Torby once per turn. Stovey Torby is great. First of all, it turns any 2 cards in hand into a set trap. Just set one of your Labyrinth spell traps out of the deck. It's great. It can get you the field spell, obviously. It can get you any of the back row. It can get you set up if you were to play setup.
It can even help make Sprite Elf.
Yeah, it is also a level 2, so you can play...
It's a level
you,
2,
you
baby.
could play Elf in this deck, and it summons itself back.
If it wasn't banned, at least.
Yes, when Sprite Elf was legal, you could play it in this deck. Again, not that you would need to, because Stovey Torby summons itself back so easily anyway, but yeah, it's...
You wouldn't need to, but it's just extra advantage to build, essentially.
And that is
Which
kind of
never
like...
bad for that.
This is the thing about Labyrinth, right? Like, it is kind of a slow build deck. It is definitely a control strategy. It is not necessarily a stun strategy, though certainly there are some normal traps that are very heavy stun tools, like D-barrier, like the deck viruses. But playing the deck, you do a lot of interrupting, you do a lot of setup, and wait for your opponent to make a blunder. It's very thematically appropriate, right? You build your dungeon, and then you tell your opponent, break my board!
Yeah,
and if they... I'll admit, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players on ladder, they're dumb about it. They see it, if they don't get Feather Duster, they see your board full of guys, and they're just like, fuck it, I'll go full combo anyway. But a clever player can work with it.
The big thing for Lab is that it's interesting how it's very much an older head style of deck where it's about constantly like
Labyrinth is an advantage deck.
It reminds me of older play styles where it's about the constant renewal of resources,
yes,
as opposed to like just the infinite combo board states that we have.
Labyrinth is a deck that is about the grind game. It is a deck about gaining constantly recycling your advantage and always having something new, and letting your opponent basically run themselves out of resources before you do, because if you're playing Labyrinth correctly, you will never run out of resources. Once per turn, Stovey Torby comes back whenever you make a monster leave a field by a normal trap effect, of which, again, there are so many ways to resolve that. Hey, did you know compulsing your own cards back to hand counts? That's a normal trap that removed something.
As long as you have normal traps that build advantage in any shape or form, you will continue to get resources.
Yeah. And like I said, Stovey Torby's effect to pitch himself from hand or field, so even if you special summon him back and you don't need to use him as other materials, he can still use his effect. It's just a great way to start milling him out of your deck. Also, it sets from hand, which again, when combined with Coup Clock, can lead you to some very funny combos, because remember, Coup Clock says that if you send a card from your hand or field to activate a Labyrinth card effect, such as if you have Coup Clock in your graveyard already, and you activate Stovey Torby by pitching, you can then get Coup Clock back to your hand, and then immediately pitch him so you can activate that trap you just set. Like, it's all about the advantage engine. And Torby is a very solid card in that mashup, that mix-up. And the final of our furniture cards for now, again, I do hope they brew up some more. But it's probably the one that is the hardest to say. Chandraglier.
Now, it's supposed to be a dragon, which I get, but it definitely does not roll off the tongue that well.
No, this is an unfortunate case where, again, because the OCG has those double names, it's a lot easier, because its name in Japanese is Shirogane no Shiro no Ryushokuto, Silver Castle Dragon Chandelier. Literally, they separate them. And the way its name is said in the furigana is, Labyrinth Chandra. So the TCG is stuck with, like, okay, how do we let them know it's a Dragon Chandelier? We'll put Chandraglier.
Chandraglier? I honestly should have Chandraglier.
I mean, you could probably pronounce it that way. It is, Lier. It's just there's no pronunciation guide for this shit.
I mean, that's more phonetically easy to pronounce.
Not really. I personally, I think the hard part is the middle syllable. It's Chan, Drag, Lear, and it's like, okay, how do we get that out there? But yeah, you can just say Chandra. I think most people would know what you mean. It's a chandelier with a dragon head. It probably spits fire at you. That's its thing. I mean, other than the fact that when you blow it up, this dragon looks kind of eepy.
He's either sleepy or incredibly smart. I can't tell.
I know it's meant to be like the symbol of the labyrinth of like the Silver Castle, but it looks like all the candles are like smiling.
Well, no, I think that because we've got the sigil down in the chat box, I think the symbol of the Silver Castle is supposed to, much like Stovey Torby, look a little bit like a crunchy mouth. It's
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a visual pun.
It's a castle. The sigil is almost a castle mimic in essence.
Yeah.
The castle will eat you up.
Would not. Sorry, Allah.
The castle will eat you up.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if an extra deck monster would just be the actual castle.
Give them like their version of like Ghost Trick Festival. Give them like a high level link that's just like the fucking castle wakes up.
Yeah,
Stands up.
it's a fucking Super Sentai mech.
One thing that concerns me with this picture is what looks like the candles having fucking smiling bone faces.
Well, that was what Axe was just talking about. That's the crest here. But with
it's
the way the
crest, okay,
wax
never
is
mind.
melted, it makes them look like, yeah, they've got little faces, which I love. I also love this kind of like spooky yellow-green fire. It's good. This card looks good. But all these little details and stuff. And I'm pretty sure that the maids imply that Lovely Lady has handcrafted all of these. I guess she has a lot of free time.
Handcrafted all of them / brought them to life.
So
One or the other or
Yeah.
both.
So, Chandra is a level 3 Dark Fiend. So you can see, like, this is why I arranged it this way. You've got, 1, 2, 3. And it's got 1500 attack, 0 defense. Quick effects on this card from your hand or field to graveyard, discard a card, set a Labyrinth spell trap from hand or deck. So it's got the same discard effect as Stovey Torby. But its return effect is if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card's in your graveyard, add it back to your hand. So Stovey Torby gives you back board presence. Dragleer gives you back hand material, which is important for some of your other cards. And again, while these are both once per turn, they are not mutually exclusive. They're both if effects. So, again, in Master Duel, you've probably seen it. I know I've done it a lot. When Labyrinth actually decides to do something, you will see deep chains. I have hit like chain link 7 or 8 before playing this deck because when you go, when it finally kicks into gear, a lot of things trigger in step, and it means that you will go ham. Like, you are going to, you set 4, and your opponent just plays into it like a dumbass. You flip, like, 1 trap card. You're going to activate, like, 5 effects. So many interplay.
I never thought of
but yeah.
it's kind of hit me just now, but I think a lot of certain archetypes are like this. But I'm wondering if the idea is that the person, like the knight, is meant to be the enemy, is meant to be your opponent, as in like you are throwing them through the labyrinth, and basically the lady labyrinth loves them so much she wants to kill them.
It's probably kind of like that. Like, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh decks do have a little bit of that.
Like
theme.
Suship is like the opponent is the customer.
Well, yeah, because reading through the storyline of sorts, they are the sisters are definitely aware of the knight, and they have a reverence like they are the restaurant or a service, and the knight is like their VIP, and like they're trying to kill them because that's their job.
It's,
but
it's a demonic escape
they
room.
also enjoy the knight coming in because the lady of the labyrinth also seems to care a lot for them. So
Yes.
it's an interesting dynamic that because it's told through conversation and not a narrator, not everything is exactly apparent, but there is definitely a complicated suite of emotions on the back and forth between the two.
Yeah. For instance, there's a line that Ariana has which says, they'll come at you from every direction and from every nook and cranny, so please enjoy the bloodthirsty, diabolic interior of the castle to your heart's content. So, like, to them, this is like an escape room, right? It's a game. We're here to have fun. And we're speaking of that one. Let's make sure we grab. It's not actually
We want to
Ariana
do both
first.
ones at
It's
the
gonna be
same
Ariana.
time since they
Oh,
are.
yeah, let's pull both their
pair.
arts up. Let me grab them both. So the pink one is Ariane, and then the other one is Ariana. So you've got pink and you've got green. So let me grab. You'd be shocked how hard it is to get them to link together. But you can see the two compared. So Ariane has a trident, which is shaped like a candelabra, whereas Ariana has, I assume some kind of weird flail weapon, but it's her fucking keyring, which also looks like magic knives.
She's covered the keys in magic, so they're also blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess based on their like dialogue lines and their general opinions that like Ariane is the, peppy, perky one, and Ariana is the kind of, like, calm, deadpan one. Just the general idea I get from, like, the snippets of dialogue we have in the valuable book.
Yeah, because, like, Ariana, the pink one, talks with very much a excitable, I guess, by her face.
Yeah, she's got a lot of
yandere.
a lot of like extra exclamation points. There's at one point where they even have her. It's translated as she's speaking in all caps, shouting "Welcome, dear knight," whereas
And,
Ariana
like,
is
I barely made it.
periods
Ooh,
lowercase.
like getting into character.
Yeah,
she's
like,
trying to put
all right,
on her.
I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. For
Honestly,
our actual like people, go ahead.
Honestly, I feel like if Yu-Gi-Oh had a bit more flexibility in how it could implement mechanics, I almost feel like they could make it where the person playing the cards, each card would have, like, they'd have to make the cards have like have kind of like a drawback kind of thing, where you are the knight going through the castle, and basically you get a perk says basically you like conquer everything, is like to like reflect on your opponent. But I feel like that's more complicated and designed to bother. So
I mean, we've tried that before.
You're running the
Sometimes
castle at your opponent.
Sometimes it works, but it's still. Think of like Subterrace, for instance, Behemoth versus Nemesis. But
Yeah.
I think honestly the art style is more focused on actually like you're building your dungeon is the gameplay loop we're looking for. But yeah, love a lot of these graphical designs. These are very like obviously these are supposed to be they're fiends. Though I do think that their horns might be hair decks, part of their little like maid headdresses. They certainly put bows on them.
We can bring up the concept art.
Oh yeah, we got the concept art.
It doesn't really answer the question, but it does make it a bit easier to.
I'll grab. Actually, yeah, we'll pull the concept art first, and then we'll remove it. That's how we'll handle the framing. Let me shrink it down a little. But yeah, so you've got form, and then full art. See the different keyring and stuff. So yeah, they've got what I would call very Tim Burton-esque tails, like with the little stripedies. Reminds me of like Nightmare Before Christmas or Beetlejuice.
They have the same vibes as the twins.
I do also like that their stockings are not only two-tone, but they are reversed. They are reversed from each other.
Yeah. You've got
I appreciate the one with with just the short gloves and the one with the long ass sleeves.
Yeah.
I mean, the same vibes as Leela and Kizakill.
Not that they. Well, not necessarily the exact same vibes. I'm pretty sure Ariana and Ariana are actually sisters.
Okay, but I mean, like the same kind of playfulness.
Yeah, it's a very classic trope in a lot of like comedy work, but especially like there's a lot of Japanese duos that are built out of the like excitable comedic one and the kind of like calm deadpan one, and so you see that a lot in a lot of anime things.
It's the straight man and the I forget the other part of the
Bouquet Tsukumi routine. Yeah,
but I also believe that the way it's set up, Lovely is the big sister. The one we'll see in a moment is the middle sister that they refer to in the book, and these two are the twins, like the youngest twins.
Yeah. So that means that there's probably 5 sisters in total, because there's the as yet uncarded red scissor lady for Big Welcome, unless that's like the twins hiding in a trench coat.
It could very well be. Who knows?
Yeah. It could. I was wondering whether we should insert RES now or later, but she is technically like legacy support and like explosively cracks this deck open. But I think we can keep the theme and talk about her next. But yeah, this is the twins. I love their vibes, their color schemes, kind of like the green and pink works very well. And like I said, I don't actually know how like demonic-y they are, like from this angle, because they're never shown from behind. Their little wings could just be part of their outfit, right? Their horns do look like they're just part of their headband. They do have little pointy ears, but it all could just be cosplay. So, and like, switching back to the actual card arts, you've got, lots of great background work, kind of like you can tell that they're in different rooms and areas because they've got, the different, like, even the way the tiles on the floor are done is different. with the color glows. I do like how, you know, like, I'm imagining just, like, the way you would run into them doing this dungeon crawl. Like, because she's got the keys, Ariana's just, you know, out in the halls in front of doors, whereas Ariane's, you know, in the kitchen, it looks like, or the master dining, ready to rock, lighting candles. So what the ladies do, the girls, the twins. Ariane is they're both level 4 Dark Fiends. Ariane is 1,800 attack, 1,100 defense, you know, one of our larger stat lines, which is kind of unfortunate because as time has gone on, Ariane is the least played of the two. But she says you can send a normal trap from your hand or that's set on your field to the graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower fiend from your deck in defense position except Ariane. If another monster leaves the field because of your normal trap effect, except during a damage step, you can draw a card, then apply this effect. From your hand, either special summon a fiend monster or set a spell trap. You can use each effect once per turn. So that draw card and set or summon is an effect shared between the twins. Once again, a great part of how Labyrinth is just a fucking advantage engine. If you've got one of the twins on the field, or both of them, because they're both once per turn, you're, you know, drawing cards and either summoning more for extension or setting more traps or just replacing your hand. When she first came out, Ariane was good. I think that nowadays she gets cut just because you would rather just play more cards that get you to Ariana because of how her effect works, being your ideal normal. And usually probably wanting to keep your set traps, your normal traps. But she's still a really good card. It's just like I said, when you get into that competitive zone, you start like having to do trims here and there and actually like find some space for non-engine and stuff. So usually I think like 3 of Ariane gets cut so you can run like 3 Ash Blossom or like in Master Duel, you know, you can put your Max C package in there, stuff like that.
Yeah, like in the core engine, Ariana is definitely the one that gets cut for the non-engine, but still a good card if you can fit it in.
Yeah. Ariana is 1,600 attack, 2,100 defense, so very, very strong defense. Both of them, by the way, are just the Silver Castle Servant or Labyrinth Servants in their names. But Ariana's your normal. If this card is normal or specialed, which is, again, the specialing is very easy to do in this deck, add a Labyrinth card from your deck to your hand except Ariana. And then she has the same. If a monster leaves the field by the effect of your normal trap, you can draw a card and then summon or set. So, Ariana is your searcher, and she does that on normal or special. So, this is a deck that, like, doesn't necessarily need its normal. Like I said, I've played this deck with certain cards where I have literally, like, activated the field spell, set 4, and passed. Ariana's more so that you actually have cards to set that do things, but is a key part of the engine.
It doesn't need its normal, but if you have an Ariana, there's no reason to not slam windmill her down just to get the Labyrinth card that you really need for your combo.
And let me see if we can grab a full art of Arias, because Arias is not yet in Master Duel, which is kind of weird because fucking Transaction Rollback is. If she is, the wiki Wikipedia hasn't updated her like card art or Master Duel information. I will double check with like a manual search, but I'm not getting an autocomplete. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like if she's in Master Duel, it must have just happened because the wiki's not up to date.
I can check Master Duel meta. Where the fuck is it? There it is. She is in there. Looks. Oh, she's not in that. She's not in any pack, but she is listed in the Master Duel meta like archive of cards.
Yeah. So, but this is Arias. I mean, obviously, like we can say lots of things about Lovely Lady herself, but Arias is clearly a legend, as she cuts that suit real great, including the monocle.
And
elegant older sister.
I do think that it doesn't look like she's wearing a headband, so I think the horns are just part of their aesthetic.
Yeah, so they do actually have horns, but and the tail, but she doesn't have the wings. So the wing, yeah, because she does have wings, but they're like lower down on her suit. So the wings are probably part of the outfit. The tail and the horns, probably not. As you may notice, that Arias appears to be holding her stopwatch with her tail, which is rad. And also just summoning little goop guys, goopy little guys.
Yeah, like they seem to be little water familiars, I think,
Yeah.
is the idea.
And they're like
They're coming from her teapot.
Yeah, they're doing many mundane tasks. Like they are, passing out saucers, knives, forks, plates. But also they look like they're gonna fucking ninja throw those forks and knives at you. This art rips. This is great. Because there's like so much going on, and it's all so fun. She's got her little like monocle chain there. Like I said, you got the stopwatch. It continues the theme that the younger twins had of being color themed, because she's got a lot of blue in her outfit and just the general like room tone. Thumbs up, good work. Also a great case where this is a card that you're like, man, that card looks great. I hope it's good. And you're like, damn, this card's good.
There is one thing I want to say about the art before we get into it. I do not want to think about the water familiars dealing with the sugar cubes.
Yeah, maybe that's why
wanna think
she's
about
got her hand on the sugar tray, but they do appear to be flying around like fucking Tetris blocks.
Yeah.
But yes,
I don't want to think about the logistics of them touching the sugar cubes, but we will move on from that.
Yeah. So, like I said, Arias, good card. Arias is just, the Silver Castle Butler, Labyrinth Butler. She is a Dock Fiend level 6. So we're jumping some levels. We got some room. I again assume that whatever our, next remaining card from that art we've seen with Big Welcome would probably be a 5 then, at this rate. But Arias is 1500 attack, 2500 defense, so pretty decent defense stat for a level 6. During the main phase, quick effect. Send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Special summon a labyrinth monster, one labyrinth monster I should say, or set a normal trap from your hand. The set normal trap can be activated this turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your card or effect activation of a normal trap or labyrinth card, except Arias, you can activate this effect in the graveyard, special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Arias once per turn. So,
Pretty good.
Yeah, Arias is a great card because she's a pitch from hand to set a trap from your hand, and then immediately have it be live. And it explicitly says that, it's during the main phase, so it is a quick effect and can be done on your opponent's turn. So this gives you a going second play, which is a weakness Labyrinth has. Labyrinth is very weak to being made to go second. But also, just in general, lets you get shit out of your hands. Lets you pitch 1 to summon one of your big ladies, your big girls, which is, again, another thing where I personally have always debated the exact ratio of large ladies to play, because in normal circumstances, they are kind of bricky. Lady Lab is better than Lovely Lady because she has an inherent special, but still, if you draw a Lovely Lady and 4 of your generic traps, you're gonna have a bad time because you're not gonna be able to summon her, so she is just kind of gonna brick you. Arias, again, is just a great hand fixer. Also lets you send herself from the graveyard, so this also applies if she's special summoned by, I don't know, any of those effects that we've seen already that summon fiends, like the field spell,
and
or both of the little twins.
Even just to buy herself, she can pitch from hand. She can pitch from hand to summon out one of your big girls that is clogging up your hand. And if your opponent tries to activate something later, she can come back out, sit in defense mode. Yeah. And on your opponent's turn, you can then send her to pop something
special
else down.
or set a normal, which can be activated. So yeah, this is so far all the cards we've looked at came out in the original block of Tactical Masters. Arias was released later in Agov, Age of Overlord, which is a pretty great set. That's where the new Zark was. TG Rocket Salamander got posted, but also the 4 Horus monsters, a lot of the Snake Eyes targets. That does mean that probably our next selection pack, they'll probably tuck an Arias in there if they don't just add her to the lab pack as an ultra or something. But
Yeah, the route they've been going, they usually slot these cards into selection packs.
yeah,
And then add them in, so we'll probably
so
see that.
we'll see what they do. But yeah, Adias is a classic Konami, like, this archetype needs a little bit more gas. Here it is. Like, they'd already done the obvious +1 card with Lovely Lady. Arias is the, like, okay, you need some, we understand, you need some more stuff. We got you. And she is the classic Konami Band-Aid card, but that's good in this sense because it does a lot of stuff you want in the archetype. The thing I've always had an issue with in Lab is getting your trap cards, especially out of your hand, onto the field and to activate on your opponent's turn. Like I said, it is a deck that sucks ass going second. Like if you don't have prep tools, and you can make it work, but Adias makes it a lot better when you can during the main phase just be like, oh cool, you're gonna set up your board or whatever, and you're presumably because it's turn 1, you're gonna end after main phase. Hi, I'm going to pitch Arias, set a card, and just be set up for next turn. Or you can do it to be like, oh, my opponent's making plays. What if I pitched Arias and set my Compulse right now so I can Compulse back your normal summon you need, like, right away? Because I see where this is going. It's a great tool. Obviously, like we said, because Labyrinth is so reliant on destroying your opponent's cards and also just in general doesn't really, like, you can self-pop, but doesn't really have a response to being put in the back row by Snake Eyes stuff. It's not, like, ideal in our current meta environment, but I think a lot of people are correct in that Konami will probably not be happy about popularized top 8s being mirror matches full of Snake Eyes players. The meta is pretty diverse on the ground level, but when you get to top 16s and top 8s, it is definitely Snake Eyes or Snake Eyes Fire King. Literally, I think one of the most recent top 8s was just all Snake Eyes.
To throw my 2 cents in, how long did it take for them to be like, okay, we've seen too many Cash Tira, too many Tilament mirror matches?
Honestly, when those were...
It took them a while to fix that.
It took them a little bit, but tier was still pretty solid. Like, when Konami decided they were killing the tier meta, in the TCG anyway, they killed it pretty thoroughly. Like, they understood that the OCG strategy wasn't working, and they were just like, every tier named a 1, fuck you. Cash they did solve pretty cleanly, just being like, Arise Heart, get him out of here.
Yeah, the tier ban list was just them, like, they thought they thought they were giving a firm hand, but they weren't firm enough, so they just kept having to go back.
Yeah, and then the TCG learned that OCG lesson and was just like, no, you know what? We're just gonna all the Ishizu names to 1, almost all the tier names to 1. Yeah, you can no longer play this deck the way you do. Yeah,
with this deck.
We have seen for the past, like, 3 to 6 months that just little baby hits here and there will not kill it. We need to, like, hammer. Kashira, I think there was one baby hit ban list where they tried to, like, limit Fenrir in the TCG, or I think it might have been Unicorn, actually. But the next ban list, they were like, okay, that didn't work. Arise Heart, jail, prison. And now, honestly, Kashtira is still a meta-viable strategy. You're still seeing it in top cuts. It's just a lot less oppressive, and you can do a lot more funny things, like Kashtira Speedroid.
So, do you think we're going to see Poplar go to jail?
Ooh, I don't know. It might be Poplar. He's pretty new. I don't know what else it would be, but it might be some of the OG Sinful Spoils. But yes, I'm pretty sure next ban list, because it is a pretty hefty Tier 0 meta, you're going to see some guys go to prison. At the very least, I bet you'll see, like, a half hit. Like, they might... I don't know how searchable she is. They might put, like, regular Diabell Star to, like, 1 to, like, hit your consistency or something.
Yeah, like when it comes down to it, I don't think they're going to hit the brand new names, but they have to take some pretty hefty bites out of Snake Eyes.
And don't forget that also, like,
King.
the Fire King part of this is also a big deal. So, like, I would not be surprised if some of the new Fire King stuff also doesn't take a bullet, because that's a deck that as an engine is very strong on its own. Yeah, Ponix to 1 maybe High King Garunix to 1, something like that. Or High Avatar.
I messed up Ponix's name. I was thinking of the fucking 14 raid that we saw Rubik's Raptor.
Yes, not Phoenix, Ponix. It's close though. I think High Avatar Kirin is actually a pretty old card. I don't remember if that one was one of the new structure deck cards.
Kieran's one of the older ones.
Yeah, I can see
Kirin
them
is-
just straight up putting High Avatar Kirin in jail because he's older. Like, just
I could
get
have
him out of here.
sworn High Avatar Kirin was one of the new ones because we had
No, it was. Okay,
we
there's
had the
different
Avatar
Kieran.
Kirin, but then the High Avatar.
Okay,
is
High
new.
Kirin is newer, but yeah, I could see some of those being picked on a little. But yeah, we're a little bit in the meta weeds here. But like I said, I just wish Konami would be more clear about when a ban list is coming so that people know. Because, like, there are budget options right now. It's just kind of annoying. But Adios is one of those cards that, like, makes this archetype cook. So let's talk about another one. This is Labyrinth Archfiend, your 7. Devil Statue of the Silver Castle, or in Furigana, Rabinitsu Daemon. So this is an Archfiend. It does have Daemon in its name in the OCG.
Oh,
It is called Devil Statue, also, though, which isn't really communicated. So it does kind of look like this is supposed to be a statue.
it looks like a gargoyle outside the castle that's possessed by one of the familiars.
Reading through the lore, the idea is that the furniture can't talk and neither can Archfiend because it's a statue.
Yeah.
It just rumbles, but it does seem to be that
It is another one of their intelligent
can
familiars, but
understand
yeah,
them
it's a
despite them
statue.
not speaking anything.
You can see kind of like the eyeball thing going on, which is cool. Also, I think it's much more obviously blown up card art. I'm pretty sure that, like a lot of the things going on here, that Labyrinth Archfiend is supposed to be a lady. It does kind of look like there's some front curvature here in the armor, and it has a little bit of a narrower like waist-hip ratio. But it is also a statue, so who the fuck knows? I do like the kind of like the wings that are shaped like a labrys, like a double-headed axe. That's neat.
It has a very menacing vibe, which does fit for those kind of like armor statues that sit around in castles and the like.
And if you did actually do this as Kawaii Dark Souls, these would absolutely scare the shit out of you because you'd walk by like 2 that wouldn't do anything, and then one of them would suddenly burst into motion and beat your ass with a 2-handed sword.
And then you just know it every time. And after the
After that, you're just like,
you just start looking for like the open helmet every time.
or if it was if it was done well anyway, if it was like an old school pixel RPG, the model of the ones that can get to life would be like slightly differently colored because they have to animate them.
I was more imagining like homage style like that, but it's more like a modern pixel art, so it's like 64-bit, or
Yeah,
it'd be
just
like
a slight.
or it's like
Sorry.
handheld chippy. It's handheld 3D model, so it's like low poly 3D models.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm
thinking
remembering
like,
the,
different coloring.
Yeah, the slight difference is it's similar to how you can tell which chest is a mimic and which one isn't.
So
It's
Labyrinth
the
Archfiend.
chain, right?
Yes,
The chain, and also the chest is slightly breathing if you look very closely.
if you
Also
want to get that close, yeah. Labyrinth Archfiend is a level 7 Dark Fiend, 2,000 attack, 2,800 defense. So normally you think, okay, this is a blocker, but its
Also
first line
makes
of effect
me-
text. Go ahead.
Doesn't make me think that if we get the red sister, she'll probably be the 5 since we have
Yeah.
we have one 3/8 with and we're missing a 5.
Yeah. Not that obviously Konami should necessarily restrict themselves to only following strict level rules, but when you are adding like new cards that are new characters, fitting in your level slots does work.
Yeah.
So Archfiend, like I said, you may think this is a blocker, but no. This is the deck's Big Bungus. Because Labyrinth Archfiend gains 400 attack for each normal trap with a different name in your graveyard.
And if you've been watching a certain series on a Mr. Z's channel, you've seen Archfiend
Yeah.
do some pretty big numbers.
When they finally add Lovely Lady, usually that plus good spell trap lineup means, or Lady Lab, I should say, when that got added and you have your option to get in there, you should say that like you don't necessarily need that attack power, but so like Labyrinth Archfiend has left most of my Master Duel decks. I would absolutely probably in real life still play like 1 or 2 of these in the side because sometimes you just need big number. Sometimes
if
need
you
to
are
do
in a
damage.
grind game, playing Archfiend is not a bad choice.
Yes. Especially because it does other things. It does also say it is actually a blocker. Your opponent's monsters can't target fiend monsters for attacks except Archfiend, so it does kind of like redirect your opponent's focus to it, but it has some effects which you can only use once per turn. One, if a trap card's activated except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. So you might think, oh, it's a 7, oh, it's a brick. No. This one's arguably easier to summon than Lovely Lady. Anytime a trap card is activated, you can summon Labyrinth Archfiend from your hand. Second, if this card's special summoned, set a normal trap from your deck that can only be activated when attack is declared. So Labyrinth does have an in-archetype version of this. I think that Fair Welcome is kind of like just okay. But this can grab a lot of funny things. All of the Mirror Forces count. They all proc on attack deck. Magic Cylinders count. There's a few other traps that work this way. I'm pretty sure Scrap Iron Scarecrow, for instance, works. Like, there's a lot of little funny things that you can grab. Now, obviously, your opponent's going to be telegraphed as hell, but that still means that they have to get rid of that card, and maybe they don't get rid of your other, more flexible Labyrinth cards because they're like, oh shit, he's got a Mirror Force set.
Yeah, it's one thing that like in trap decks, telegraphing your traps is not the best option, but in lab, like you're telegraphing half your deck at this point.
Yeah.
In like your opponent is just setting trap cards. Like it's not really gonna stop them.
Yeah.
It's not really gonna do that much at that point. But also, like your normal traps just have so much advantage that even if you're telegraphing, they still have to find a way around.
And I'm gonna be honest, because of how many effects get activated and how grindy these games are, sometimes your opponent forgets. When I played Archfiend in my deck, my go-to trap was Quaking Mirror Force, because it's just very flexible. If you need to get rid of links, just play Karma Cannon. But I would sometimes get opponents who would, chew through all my board and my special summons and would still attack and not get rid of Quaking because they forgore. They forgot that I had the Quaking set because they had so much other shit to chew through.
Yeah, and like not only that, like when you're telegraphing half your back row, eventually your opponent will lose track of what's been telegraphed.
Yes, especially as Master Duel and the TCG have very careful note-taking rules. So Master Duel doesn't show you, once you get past it in like its activation in the log, Master Duel doesn't show you what's under that face down. You have to go back, scroll back to check what was played and set where. Like, even if you as a player would recognize what card is set, once it, leaves that initial set phase, that's no longer public information. So, you can, not really bamboozle, but you can just do so much stuff that your opponent forgets what's going on. So yeah, Archfiend is a very solid card. Again, ideally, you're probably cutting it down or side decking it mostly these days, but it's still very solid because, again, it generates large numbers, and, like I said, in Master Duel, for some reason, people still play Blue Eyes in Master Duel. I don't know. They grind out enough games or get enough Chaos Max scum that they win. It's easy, yeah.
Because the Jet is too oppressive.
Also, yes, Jet sucks ass, and I fucking hate him. And where's my Red Eyes Jet? I know you gave us Red Eyes Soul. It's nowhere near as cool as as Blue Eyes Jet.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same reason you see so many DM players. It's
well,
just
for DM, it was
point,
DM also specifically because they made it a cheap structure deck, so it's real easy to build constructed DM in Master Duel.
I think Vespresso, but did you guys see that fucking match I had against a DM player in Master Duel recently, where I'm like, okay, he's got lethal, and then he still combos off.
Yes, I report those people for slow play. By the way, I don't know if Konami ever takes notice, but yeah, no, that is a problem lots of Master Duel players have, which is why I'm glad that surrendering exists, and I wish that it would give you full rewards, because sometimes you run into a person who has lethal but won't fucking finish the game. It's over, guys. But yeah, no,
and,
DM players are very common.
I did put the deck list I came across. That was the deck list of all time last night.
Yes, I think I remember that one, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
It's, I'll just throw it into Failed Betrayal. Yes,
Normal's Turbo.
The best part is that they didn't put a mega list. It's 1900 Bunguses and Avram.
I mean, if not for the Avram, I would almost say this was a goat deck.
Yeah, this is go crazy into the 2004 event.
I love the Jaw of Greed.
Yeah. Which, by the way, that event in Master Duel was actually very fun. I played the Horus deck, and I'm like, man, we need to retrain Metamorphosis. Like, I don't know how you make it so that card's not broken, but Metamorphosis is such a funny little guy.
I think I actually fucked up and only did one win in that event, so I didn't get the full rewards.
It was just a pack. But, like, Metamorphosis is, like, bounce a guy. It's basically Metamorphosis. If you haven't ever played it, is basically just imagine mask change but completely generic. Which is the problem because you can get annoying floodgates like Last Warrior from Another Planet out. But just
and also just turbo out restrict with fucking anything.
Yeah, though admittedly, well, they printed instant fusion, so that was also already a problem as well. But like, it's just so funny to like fucking, rip out Fusilier and then pivot into fucking King Dragon. King Dragon sends his regards. Like, it was a fun old time. I appreciated it. And actually, like, I got my wins pretty easy playing Horus. But yeah, Labyrinth Archfiend is your solution. You do have a couple of ways to do it. For instance, I mentioned that, whatchamacallit, Lovely Lab doesn't target. That obviously doesn't work on full-blown Chaos Max because he is also non-destructible. But you have options. But generally, it is tough to deal with Towers-type monsters. Sometimes you just gotta get large and punch them. I'm pretty sure, actually, in Master Saga, didn't Gage beat out a Final Sugma by making a really big Archfiend?
Yeah, because he had like 4 or 5 traps in his.
Yeah. No, it gets big.
It was a massive Archfiend.
400 per different normal trap name is really good, actually, especially because, honestly, the way Lab plays these days, you are incentivized to play multiple, like, one-of normals you can easily summon as kind of like a Swiss Army knife toolbox.
We bring it up every other week on this series. Attack modulation can matter, guys. Yeah. Don't discount it.
The main thing is you need 3 names to beat Blue Eyes White Dragon with Archfiend. That's not hard to get 3 different names in your deck. You literally have 3 different welcomes in your archetype as is. So, and then you want to beat like Chaos Max, who's 4K, right? That's just, you can crash at 5 names and get over at 6. So, like, all very doable. You got to wait a while to do it, but it's easy to set up. But here is the big lady herself.
Well, you're also 110% playing Trap Trick as well. Like, there's no reason to not play Trap Trick.
Yeah, also true. Yeah, you played Trap Trick and some other cards like that. But yeah, this is lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. Her interesting that she doesn't have like a title. Her name is just Shirogane no Shiro no Labyrinth. Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. So the TCG had to do a little grunt work to do that lovely Labyrinth. Again, I think this is supposed to be that pun I talked about where Rabirinsu is kind of like love, Labu, Rabu. It's got because of the LR and the BV switch. So yeah, she's supposed to be kind of like, a play, the love you of the Silver Castle. And I do think that technically this card is slightly censored in the TCG, but let me pop this out, this image in a new tab, but I'm having a hard time telling with the OCG card art, like we're playing Spot the Difference here again. No, hey, guess what? You can still see your armpits. I guess, yeah, it's really hard to tell at this space, but basically they did the thing they usually do, which is they covered up the top of her cleavage a little more. You can't really see that much anyway in the OCG, but you did maybe see a little bit of top boob, and then the TCG is just completely covered that up. But yeah, this is the lovely lady wearing a very tight metal corselet, a big, poofy dress. I think the only thing that I find kind of, like, questionable about this art is that her axe is very bendy. It's definitely curved in that shot. Which is funny because, let me grab the concept art. Is that framed up correctly? Yeah. You can see that the artist drew it straight there. She's also got an oh-ho-ho. A variety of expressions I like. You can't actually see her from the back.
I do love the one on the right that is just her board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she makes-
fucking waiting, and she's got, the lamp and the stove with her. Or no, it's
And
Kuklok.
she also has a plush of the knight.
I was
Yeah.
about to say that too. Yeah.
Yeah, she has a night plushie, but she's building a fucking stack of cards. She's building lots of cards. No, it's great. Lovely lady is who we all aspire to be.
It's
but
like
also,
she's got a mix between like
Go ahead.
a woman's suit and a corset, and then like
Oh no,
a
it's
king's
a full
robes.
ballroom dress. Like
it's like three things at once, and
it's
a good
argue
way.
I would say it's very close to a wedding dress because you can see with this especially the front is translucent and she's got the full garters and stockings on.
Yes.
But she also has kind of like a neck ascot. It's great. Big horns that big
Yeah,
horns that spiral like the classic anime Ojo drill hair.
I'm not quite sure why they drew the axe bending, but it could just be weird perspective nonsense.
Yeah, I assume the artist was just trying to fit everything into the frame. In the concept art, like I
Yeah.
said, it's straight on. I love that they have this fucking like punch in detail to talk about. Hold on, the text is over. Let me scooch that down a little. But they've got this fucking punch in text detail to talk about like how her eyelashes is shaped and her eyeliner is shaped. It's good. It's real good.
I like the blank face. Just a little picture of her in the middle.
Yeah,
Just meh.
like I said, we have a lot of fun with the expression here. But yeah, it's a lovely lady. She's chilling. Obviously, a reference to the Minotaur at the labyrinth, but also the names are very similar to Ariadne, so you have kind of similar roots there.
Spirit on Lapis is correct. There is a tiny plush of the knight in the lower right.
Yeah.
Oh wow, there it is. Wait, is it a plush of her and the knight? I think.
Yeah, I think that's
In
a
the-
tiny
in the
her in the
bottom right
frame.
corner
Yeah,
of
you
the
can see
art?
kind of one of her horns. Yeah, it looks like that. That is adorable. Also,
you know
you
what
can
that
see
gives
she's
me
got
the vibe
notice
of?
I just realized she's got like a bedside table. It looks like she's got either those are actual dominoes or she's stacked up like books like dominoes. She's so fucking bored. She's building domino trains back here.
You know
They
what that
can
reminds
also
me
use
of?
decks of cards to make more card towers out of.
She's got decks of cards.
It's she's with the plushies there. It gives me the same vibe as that scene from Spaceballs. No, Lord Helmet, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Good. Because that is definitely what Lovely Lady does to kill time. Like, here she is standing at the apex of the castle under the moonlight, but also, like, yeah, it's great.
I really get the impression that I feel like this is her posing for a photo.
She,
This is her branding photo.
No, what we
yeah,
don't see is that there's actually a mirror. She's practicing what she has to pose for when the knight shows up.
posing
Yeah.
in front of the giant heart-shaped like window frame.
Yeah, this is absolutely like you get to the center of the castle and she hits the post and is like, "Behold, I am actually the treasure of the castle. Me, the princess. Take me away."
We fight. Now death do us part, or I kill. Now till death do us part, as she swings at him.
No, that's the second form, I think is the...
Okay.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, so Lovely Lady is our original boss monster. She is the big princess at the center. She is a level 8 Dark Fiend, 2900 act, 1900 defense. Like I said, slightly awkward stats. I think Konami realized that, like, this archetype has to be bad at something, basically, and so they gave her 29. It's still pretty decent, but is just a little shy of where a lot of big attackers are. She does actually technically have a protection type effect in that your opponent can't activate monster effects in response to normal trap cards, which is pretty funny. It does prevent your opponent from doing stuff like Barone or Apo negates, because this is just a continuous effect. But rarely do I see it actually matter, because usually you would want that protection before Lovely Lady hits the board, because you are not usually normal summoning her. But she does have following effects you can only use once per turn. First of all, you can target a normal trap in your graveyard, set it to your field, but it can't be activated unless you control a fiend monster, so this is part of that grind game. Literally, your traps in graveyard just come back.
Controlling a fiend can matter.
Yes, no. It does actually be important to keep all your guys on board. I have fucked myself over that way as well, but generally, you still got them on there, so it's really easy to recycle all your cards. And then if another monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect except during the damage step, you can destroy one card in your opponent's hand at random or on their field. Again, this is probably why they're not good in Fire King, because doing a random destruction hand rip actually pluses your opponent like 5,000.
Yeah, if you pop the wrong Fire King, your opponent wins the game.
But in normal decks, Hand Rip 1, which you can very reliably set out because it's anytime another monster leaves the field, is actually pretty good. There is a lot of punishment you can get out of Rip 1 out of your opponent's hand. So, they have a built-in once per turn Hand Rip. I do at least like that it's a hard once per turn, and they have not given them any additional Hand Rip cards, so it's not like you're doing fucking, Ebegishki loops, but it's still a very strong response. Or it's just another pop, right? It is another non-targeting destruct, so it lets you kind of chain destruction, because you can activate a Welcome Labyrinth Trap, use Labyrinth Lab's effect to pop a monster, and then you can use Lovely Lab to pop a back row, etc., etc. So you just get a lot of these effects chaining and snowballing. Again, the primary problem is that she doesn't have an inherent special summon, so if you draw her and nothing else, you are technically bricking, and that she's kind of small and has no inherent protection. But like I said, Konami probably knew that was the case, so they immediately had a second version waiting in the wings. And let's go ahead and look at her. Let's get serious, y'all. It's Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. So this is the only card in the TCG that actually has the Silver Castle in there. Though, admittedly, I believe that's because she does actually have the pun. So her name in the OCG is Meikyujo no Shirogane Hime, Silver Princess of the Labyrinth Castle. But also, you've got the furigana for Lady of the Labyrinth, so she's Lady of the Labyrinth. So they had to, Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. But yeah, this is according to the lore, this is what happens when the Lady of the Castle, the princess, gets so fired up by the knight, she has to leave her room to go face them personally. So she's in kind of the same vibe with her dress, but she switched it up a little, and she's got, instead of her stockings, she's got her armored greaves on. She's got, armored on her upper torso. You can still see a lot of thigh, thanks. Also, by the way, you can see kind of her translucent wings a little better in this. But she switched to swords, and she's ready to rumble in a moonlit field full of, blossoms.
You could say you're about to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
That is something that you could say, yes. That is hypothetically happening. But yeah, so this came out in Darkwing Blast Dabble, which was I'm pretty sure that was the set after Pote, and was immediate, one of the sets that was very shortly after the deck build pack. It also had further support for cards like Valiance and Runic in it, so that this was the set where Konami was like, okay, you're gonna get your extra stuff. Dabble also was
May I say one thing?
Go for it.
Thighs.
Yeah. I believe you can use the Aku extra thick joke here. Clearly, she doesn't skip leg day, probably because she has to haul ass around this fucking castle.
The other joke I want to quickly make is you have failed the wedding check. She's now going to kill you.
Yeah, this is the death part. But yeah, Lovely Lady, pretty shortly came out as part of the extended support. She's another level 8 Dark Fiend, but she is 3k attack and 2900 defense. When she's not wearing a wedding dress, she's actually ready to kick ass.
Ironically, this, the way you described it reminds me of, a very specific thing in, certain dungeon crawlers where if you're basically high enough tension, or more of, enough of a combo where you're not getting hurt, and you're avoiding you're winning all fights quickly, and you're avoiding all traps, it basically causes, a super boss to show up, and this feels like that kind of thing.
You could also think of it like the, to use a fairly modern example, this is kind of like the alertness that the castle bosses have in Persona 5. They've got that meter that goes up, and if you, hit the top, they just kick you out.
Is this too easy for you?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Also a comparison, I think, would be how the Reaper is played in Persona games, where sometimes we just decide to fuck shit up.
Yeah, reading through the lore of sorts, it's set up where it's like the Archfiend comes out, and the Archfiend comes out in the middle of Ariana and of the twins try to keep up with the hero. Archfiend's literally like what the hell do you mean she just vanished? what do you mean she just left her room? What do you mean?
Huh?
And she's
She
got
won't
all armored
wait?
up and she had to go meet the hero.
Yeah.
She couldn't wait.
Yeah. So she rushes out to meet you. Yeah. So it's a very fun vibe, and like I said, the stat line is still appropriate for a level 8, but it's clearly she's gotten serious. So first line of text, once again showing you that she's the real boss, is while you control a set card, not a set spell trap by the way, a set card, feel free to fucking set Ariana or Stovey Torby face down. Your opponent can't target this card with card effects, and it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's right, we've got a baby towers. Also, additionally, you can use each of the following effects once per turn. If a Labyrinth card or effect or a normal trap card was activated this turn, except Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, quick effect, special summon from this hand in defense position. So basically, if your deck does fucking anything. When a normal trap card is activated, you can set a normal trap with a different name directly from your deck. This is also, by the way, your opponent's normal traps, too. So, one, this is why the mirror is miserable, actually. Labyrinth mirrors are one of the most awful things in the world, because everybody is, like, going to Chainlink 8 and trying to chase EEV. It sucks. You're going to be there for a long time. But also, just in general, is a great bit of advantage. This says when a normal trap card is activated, not when that card is set. So if your opponent tries to do something dumb like Imperm Lady Lab while you don't have anything, you can still set a card. If they try to do like a destruction effect while you have no back row with a trap, you can just be like, cool, I'm going to set a card. I'm now immune to destruction. I have absolutely done that, by the way. My opponent has tried to like flip like a Dogmatic, a punishment or something, and pop my Lady Lab, and I'm like, okay, CL2, Lady Lab, gonna set a card. I now control a set card. When we go to point of resolution, my card cannot be destroyed. So this is just part of what makes Lab such a further grind engine. You now have a boss monster that ideally cannot be destroyed, especially as it still does work on your trap, so that means when you have to activate a trap to actually play the game, Lady Lab immediately reloads your back row. Combined with Kuklock to make that card be immediately live. And just in general, like, this gets cards out of your deck. If I would say the only weakness this has is something that a lot of Labyrinth cards you're going to see have, is that they're very picky about where they get cards from. Regular Lovely Lady only sets them back from your graveyard. Lady Lab only fetches them out of your deck. This is why ADS only goes from hand, because you have good ways to get them back from your graveyard or out of your deck. You're kind of SOL from your hand.
I think the idea is they make them more specific so you can't just endlessly recycle the really big shenanigan traps, because I had to they had to have known in design space that the deck viruses are going to be insane in this thing.
Yes.
There's
hey,
no
guess
way
what?
that
These
never
cards
came
are
up.
all dark. Some of them are very small. Some of them are very large. You can play basically every deck virus, I believe, in this deck. Unless one of them like requires extra deck monsters. That might be a little tricky to set up. But, like, EEV is a dark with like... Yeah,
attack,
so it's
11
full
more
force.
defense.
You can play all the ones that require small ones, because you, again...
The one you can't play is Planet Pollutant Virus, but that's an alien card.
Yeah,
So, you know...
No, it's... all of the classic deck viruses are viable. So yeah, you have to be careful about where you're pulling and playing them, but very strong.
All of the big name virus series you can play in this deck.
Yes. And this is one reason why you can just play like one of all your spicy trap cards. I don't play 3-dimensional barrier or like 3 what's another good one? Karma Cannon, right? Because those are very situational. I just play Lady Lab, and I'm like, cool, okay, I'm gonna activate a big Welcome Labyrinth. I'm gonna get Lady Lab. Lady Lab's just gonna... I'm just going to show my opponent I'm setting EEV. And then I'm gonna pitch Kuklock, and then my opponent concedes. There's also other things that you can do with that, but yeah, there's like it makes you incredibly flexible to get out there and start hitting. Oh, hey, Jelly Cannon counts as I should remember that because that's what Gage primarily does. But that's another thing that's very funny that you can put there.
Very funny.
Dimensional Prison and Dimensional Wall are traps. Oh, hey, by the way, Torrential Tribute's a normal trap that destroys. If you don't mind nuking your board, which you probably don't because, you summon back a lot. Like, there's a lot of good cards, and again, Lady Lab just takes anything that's buried in your deck and makes it viable. And even if you're not going to activate it right away, that just means that you've got a card in your back row that she's protected. So, like,
yeah.
Do mention, though, and this is why I'm a little hesitant about using TT these days, is just says can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can blow up your own Lady Labyrinth with TT, so I probably don't do that specific combo with her, but yeah, there's a lot of fun, flexible options. I think the primary thing is that I get why they make you summon her in defense mode so that you can't, like, instantly turn that into an attack. It does kind of sometimes hurt your OTK potential, and making you have to play extra turns. That's not necessarily bad for Lab. They can survive some of that stuff, but it is interesting, again, how, like, Konami has built checks and balances into this archetype, and honestly, they're not bad ones. Like, the reason why Labyrinth isn't meta right now, with Transaction Rollback having come out, is probably because most of their big card effects destroy, and that's really bad in the matchup. You know you're going to run into Fire King Snake Eyes somewhere at a tournament. Also, hell, just regular Snake Eyes generate so much advantage, I don't even know if sending them to Graveyard actually fucking does anything. I've played a little bit of test games against Loth running pure Snake Eyes, and just... Snake Eyes Sinful Spoils is just a resource deck. They get so much back, like, all the time. But let's pull up the signature trap cards as well, because they're an important part of the story.
Do we want to pull up setup at least for the art?
Yeah, actually, let's do setup first. That's their one other spell card.
Their quick play spell.
Yes. Yeah, even their non-field spell is a quick play. But sadly, I do think that setup is kind of like setup is a classic one of those cards we talk about where I appreciate that Konami put this in because it does solve a problem the deck has. But ironically, for Lab, it feels a little slow to actually play. But here is the card art. This very much looks like the Overworld.
I was having keyboard issues, but never forget a normal trap card that is lovely, always timed to be set. It's Scrap Iron Scarecrow.
Yes, I've mentioned it earlier.
You know what? That is true.
You can set Scrap Iron because that also declares that's also an attack deck, so you can set that with Archfiend as well, and it does reset itself, which means that your opponent can't get Lovely Lady. But yeah, this looks like the overworld of a dungeon crawling video game, right? Like,
honestly, yeah, I was going to say this. It does look like the dungeon builder mode of a dungeon runner game.
Like, you can see Stovey Torby back here. The logs are kind of forming a bow on the tail. You've got the two twins here. This, I believe, is also supposed to be the time where Ariane is actually like, Archfiend, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you out here? And Archfiend's like, brr. You can kind of see the eyeball look it's got going on. Kuklok, Chandelier. And like I mentioned, there's a little iron lamp that's a bat as well. I love this guy. I want him.
It reminds me of a favorite game called, I think, like the Mighty Quest for Epic Loot, where basically you made a bunch of like floating sky dungeons that do rated against each other, like to get stuff from other people as like this competitive dungeon building game.
Yeah, but it's a very cute art. But what it does, it's a quick play spell card that says target 2 of your Labyrinth spell traps that are banished or in your graveyard, except setup, shuffle them back in your deck. If you control a fiend monster, you can set non-Labyrinth normal traps with different names directly from your deck equal to the number shuffled. You can only activate it once per turn. So this solves one of your problems this deck does have. That's another thing that's one of their critical weaknesses. Banishment kicks your ass. And I believe Dimension Shifter also fucks up Fire Kings and Snake Eyes.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that I don't want to say a bad card. It's one of those awkward mid-game design cards that Konami always throws in with these deck build packs, where it rarely sees play because it's designed for the mid-late game.
But the one thing is, the card that would make this an autoplay is if it was Labyrinth Monsters. This is a problem the deck has. If somebody snipes your ladies, like Lovely Lady or Lady Lab, and puts them in the banish zone, you're fucked. You don't. That's why I have to play 2 of each, because if they banish one of them and you have no more copies, you're fucked. You can't get her back. No cards you run normally get a banished monster back into your graveyard. So, like, if Labyrinth setup returned banished Labyrinth monsters, even to your grave, though also shuffle them back into deck, that would be a really good card. Again, Konami is probably not eager to print that one right away because Labyrinth is still a pretty solid archetype, and if they had that built-in recovery tool, that is one form of counterplay that would actually be, like, removed. Labyrinth setup is a card that I have tried to run personally in Master Duel a lot. It's very funny when you shuffle back, like, your banished cards, especially because Big Welcome is a card that banishes itself.
If you did want to play some Paleo cards, you probably could. If you were down bad, you could play, like, Leon Cholia, which does return banish shit. But yeah, like, it's not ideal.
It's one of those things where, like, running a full Paleo package is probably a little too much, you know? Like, doing a, like, Dinomischus so you can proc your effect of a normal trap removing monsters. Also, it's a good effect, you know, it's just Karma Cut. And it can sometimes summon itself back for extra blockers is cute, but, like, Labyrinth is a deck that's, like, pretty close to a critical mass in terms of engine. Like, you can run it pretty lean, especially, like I said, the Master Duel ban list is, like, I think like, Kuklok's at 1 or 2, Stovey Torby's at, like, 2. So, like, you gotta be careful with your ratios, but you don't have infinite main deck space. You will notice, chat, you have entirely free extra deck space, as I alluded to earlier. There are no extra deck Labyrinths currently. A couple of their key cards do Fiend lock you, but as we mentioned before, your extra deck being open-ended to Fiends is still very good because that gives you access to all the Nightmares, several good rank 4s.
It does. It gives you access to the White Woman.
Yes, she is valid. You get access to Chaos Angel as a Fiend, which is a Synchro monster that doesn't require actual tuner monsters to be run. You have access to Muckraker of the Underworld, which is actually a really good card to play in Labyrinth.
Some Unchained nonsense,
Yes.
if you wanted to go that route.
Much like how Live Twin Fiend locks you, you can play Unchained Abomination as a big guy. Sadly, you can't play Labyrinth Live Twin because the
main
twin
deck
part-
twins are various typings.
Yeah,
that don't
they're various
drive
types, and they require you to have no other guys on board, so it just doesn't line up, and you need them to summon the Link 2s. This is a similar problem that the Fiendsmith thing is going on there. I'd love to be able to run Fiendsmith Live Twin or Evil Twin, but the only one half of the Evil Twins are light anyway. It's just Kiss a Kill and Trouble Sunny.
I don't think it would be good at all, but you could do some Tindangling.
Yeah.
If you were insane, or Joseph.
But no, setup is still pretty good because, like, this is a great way if you've burned through a couple of your regular Labyrinth traps to be like, okay, I'm gonna reload, and now I'm gonna, I'm gonna whip out EEV, D-Barrier, Karma Cannon, whatever. But it's a card that, like I said, the second effect where you get to fish normal traps out of your deck, you can do that anyway with Lady Lab, and honestly, I feel like if your Labyrinth spell traps get banished, you sometimes just have to give up. You just have to say, well, we're done. We're out of gas. But like I said, it's not a bad card, and I appreciate that Konami had the thought, but it's one of the cards that you probably end up cutting for time, and you can tell it's not as important because Master Duel rated it like a rare or a normal. The following card is an ultra rare in Master Duel for good reason. This is Welcome Labyrinth. I remember when this card came out and people were trying to tell if the knight was a woman or not because we cannot tell exactly how caked up they are.
It does look like they're wearing metal stockings.
Yeah, definitely wearing stockings, and that is a skirt. We know this for a fact later.
There is some absolute territory going on.
Yes. So we know that the knight is a woman of culture. I do like this look, though. It is very simplistic and retro, but, like, very basic, medieval armor, and then a big red, plume to be like, hey, I'm here. It's good. It's a thumbs up. Also, you can see the interior of the castle. Great architecture here. There's, Chandelier heading up there. Lady Labyrinth does appear to have a giant statue of herself ready to go.
It does look like the bat lamps are like are the little the top of the railings.
Yes. And
There's Cuckoo Clock to the right.
yeah, you can see Kuklok. And it does kind of look like maybe some of the lamps aren't monsters. They're not all traps because like you can only see the eyeball on one of them and it's not on the other one. It's like some of them are hiding out. But yeah, it's just a good look. It's a good vibe. Looks great. So this is one of your iconic trap cards. This is one of your core things. Obviously because you would expect so because the field spell checks Welcome Labyrinth cards, but this says, special summon a Labyrinth monster from your deck, and then until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you can't special from the deck or extra deck except Fiends. If a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card's in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can set this card. You can only use each effective Welcome Lab once per turn. So Welcome Lab summons from deck, summons a Labyrinth monster from deck specifically, though it does Fiend lock you, and also it resets itself. So it is just, again, potentially limitless resources. The main thing is that it does only summon from deck. So, again, this is why I talked about you got to be careful about your ratios. A lovely lady in your hand is just a dead card until at least we get our, second a big one out of this, or we get our third technically, but like I said, it's all part of the vibes. You still play Welcome Lab at max copies because it's a great card. Summon from deck is usually a pretty strong indicator, and I assume why they have to insist that you are extra deck locked to Fiends. Because otherwise you would have some stupid stuff. That said, do watch out. This card is very ashable.
This is the ash of all time in the deck.
Yes, no. This is the card that's like, if you flip this and your opponent does have ash, you are cooked. That said, you can, very funnily, if your opponent tries to, blind Max C you can chain this to Max C in Master Duel and summon one card without giving them Max C draw. But yeah, the Ash Wombo does hurt you a lot. It can set itself back, but like I said, if you're really counting on that summon, you will get cooked. So I believe I mentioned anyway earlier, that they do have an in-archetype battle trick, battle trap. And this is the probably least used Fair Welcome Labyrinth. Again, we see our chibi art style, and it's just the knight fucking obliterating the traps. And I did mention, YouTube, don't get mad at me, there is, like I said, a comical panty shot in the back. Because she's fucking schmoovin'.
It does feel like they're kind of like one of those stone-faced blonde ladies.
Yeah, and the art of this paired with Ice and Next will cover Barrage.
Yeah, I was gonna do all the welcomes at once. We can talk about Barrage as well. Let me actually grab Barrage's art as well.
More so for the pairing of the arts, because it is showing how capable the knight is. We'll say.
Yeah,
I'm getting the impression that the knight is able to basically is one of those things that it's just impressively skilled to the point where it's why the lady is so obsessed with them, because it seems like they're able to clear the castle continuously.
I mean, I'm reasonably we haven't specified exactly, but if the princess is the actual prize at the inside of the castle, I'm going to guess this is indeed some kind of elaborate fairy test. Like, the Lady of the Labyrinth is looking for her perfect partner, and I guess her qualifications are, or maybe it is actually cursed, but the qualifications are you have to be good at dungeon crawling. So yeah, you can see both fighting monsters and avoiding traps.
The way the way the sisters react to the knight, I'm going to assume it's not their first time here, so this artwork seems to just be the
sword. Also, the sword feels like it's from the castle.
Yeah,
it might be. It does kind of match the art style. I do like
the
it.
Knight. The knight is very used to the setups here, and is rushing through. They're on New Game Plus right now.
Yeah. And so you can see, in Fair Welcome, the knight is just beating up all the little guys, perfectly dodging the Kuklok and then just, getting in there, bapping Chandelier on the forehead. hitting Stovey with its own firewood, doing a fucking Legend of Zelda spin attack on the bats. And you can see all the classic traps in Barrage. You've got Spike Pit, arrows, dart walls, crushing ceiling. This is some fucking
Do a dodge roll into a wall run into like a parry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way the EX book describes it, it's like they welcome the night. It's like several hours later, and the night is just bum rushing through as the twins are getting more and more concerned.
Yeah. So I will say, Labyrinth Barrage is a weird one. We can talk about that card first. It's a normal trap that says, when you activate a set normal trap card except Barrage, this effect becomes that normal trap when activated. And also until your end of your opponent's turn, your opponent takes no effect damage from your card effect. So Labyrinth Barrage is just when you activate a set normal trap, Labyrinth Barrage becomes a second copy of that normal trap. But you can't use it to spam burn. In basic sense,
it just goes another one.
It's just there. You get a trap, you get a second trap. I don't think Barrage is played very much. I haven't really experimented with it because it's cute that you can use it to double up on traps. Really, you want to use those slots to just play more traps.
Yeah, it's incredibly unwieldy, but I can definitely see at some point it's going to do some bullshit.
Yeah. There are probably Labyrinth Barrage builds that are good, and Konami did future-proof this by making it so that your opponent is locked out of taking effect damage, so you cannot, like, spam effects of, like, Secret Barrel or something.
Them, as Gage might say.
Yeah. But it's still, like, a solid card. It's just kind of clunky, and you end up just being like, okay, I could play, like, 3 Labyrinth Barrage, or I could just play 3 more different trap cards.
Like it's a weird situation. Like it's a labyrinth card, so you can get it out pretty easily.
Yeah.
So like if you don't have anything else to search, you can throw it in there as like a weird one of, and maybe get something silly in.
Yeah. But it's very functional. Now, Fair Welcome is okay, I would say. I've experimented with a little. I think it's a little limited because it does check if you control Fiend Monster in the battle phase, but it's still a decent card, especially because of its synergy with Archfiend. It says, when a monster declares an attack while you control a Fiend Monster, target one card on the field, negate the attack. If you do, destroy the targeted card. You can set a non-Labyrinth normal trap from your hand or deck. So prior to Adios, Fair Welcome was intended to be a one way to get traps that are in your hand onto the board. It also is a form of protection to pop during the battle phase. It does say when a monster declares an attack, so you can use it on your turn to turn attacks into pops. So if your opponent does have a monster that is too big for you to just run over that is susceptible to destruction, you can have a little guy run out an attack, pop, and swing for big. The main problem is that because it requires you to control a fiend and it's only pop 1 in battle phase, you should just play Mirror Forces. They're just as searchable, and yes, hypothetically, you can use this with Labyrinth to get a pop in the battle phase, but you could do that anyway. It's a card that you played when you don't have anything better, but we've got better things, especially when we talk about the last Welcome Labyrinth we've got.
Yeah, and the best thing with Fair Welcome is that in theory it's a pop 2 with the field spell.
Yeah.
But it's it's something. It's a +2 basically, which is a really good effect, but it requires your opponent to be interacting with your board state.
And also, unlike the solution to playing around Mirror Force is just don't attack or don't put all your monsters in attack mode. It's very easy to play around a Fair Welcome is coming because you just are like, okay, well, if I get rid of all your fiends before I attack, I can attack, and then you still perish because you can't do anything about it. So let's talk about Big Welcome Labyrinth. Oh, ho, 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 ho. So there's a lot going on in here.
This feels like
I never noticed the fucking kind of at the top of this card.
Yes,
art.
no, she's got the fucking... She's standing in the moonlight, but also has her fucking big silhouette. I love it.
So, the vibes this gives me is when a game gets a re-release and gets basically an expansion pack of a new zone. This feels like the intro era cutscene to the fucking new zone to the game.
This is the 0.1 patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold
This
on.
is the
I
New
just- I
Game
just
Plus
noticed-
content.
I just noticed two things. One, nice ass shot of the night. But two, does one of
trying
those
to see
fucking hedge things have an eye?
Oh yeah, no, the
Yes.
hedges also look like the familiar shapes. I'm gonna guess that's probably related to the red lady because they look like scissors, but they could also be like hedge clippers. So much like
Yeah,
how Arias was able to summon little water guys with eyeballs, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, I would assume the red sister is the groundskeeper.
Yes.
Also, it's we have like the cut. We have like the silhouette of her, but then we also she's like against the moonlight. Is that also her?
Yeah, no, that's her. She's doing the same pose. It's a little hard to tell, but
Oh.
she's got the big axe and you can see the horns. So yeah, no, this is anime as fuck.
This is basically an episode end shot where we have the menacing
Yeah.
we're panning out and like as we hit a certain
We
point,
play that one,
we
tension
have
or
the
mystery
extra,
music
like-
from JoJo Part 3.
The
yeah.
sisters are the fucking.
The
Two
rose
fucking
petals are
blue
making
blobs.
another fucking heart too. The
Yes.
flower petals flying through the air. God, they are so gay, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah. It's so funny, but yeah. And in the valuable book EX, literally this card is described as to be continued. They're like the younger twins realize that Her Highness hasn't waited and she's rushed out to fight, and then this is supposed to be our to be continued shot. So yes, this is also why we talk about like hypothetical, fifth sister, because you can see, big lady posing, and you can see what it clearly is Arias because she's, wearing the suit and got the monocle.
And it has the blue outline,
Yes.
like just
doing
like,
our best
if,
fucking
if
Walter
you
from
were not
Hellsing
sure,
pose.
this is supposed to be Arias.
So this means that, like we said, there is a second one who is. I'm gonna guess if I were to guess how this trope
Adne,
will go.
Adne at the end of the name or something, so it's Ariadne mixed together.
I mean, it'll be Adi something, but I'm gonna guess, even though the levels won't work out, but she's probably supposed to be the second oldest sister because she's the shortest. Though her being the middlemost could also be funny, but yeah, she's the red one is clearly very small and has very large skizzers. But yeah, that's a card we haven't seen. But I love this look of like the tall walls and the hedge maze and stuff. It's pretty good. Also, hey, this card's really good.
Okay. It does say in the book our noble middle older sisters. So these are. I do not believe the red sister is the twins to get like in a trench
Yeah.
coat.
Yeah.
It is a different lady.
Yes, we have multiple.
As funny
older
as that
sisters.
is. Oh,
I mean,
sorry,
I
that
would
reminds
love them
me-
to get a Link 2 that is just Ariana and Ariane teamed up, but yeah.
I just remembered the dumbest thing from a video I watched. Omega, do you remember Kingdom Hearts 1, what Ansem looked like
Yeah.
before everything, where he was in the brown coat?
Obviously.
Someone had the best description I've heard, which is it's just two Jawas in a trench coat.
Yes. No. I mean, I remember that joke from Chip Cheese's Kingdom Hearts LP, now finished. But yeah,
Oh, okay. It's
so
some different video, but yeah.
no,
So-
I think several people make that joke. But yeah, like I said, big welcome, good card. You've probably seen it. This card's still semi-limited in the OCG in real life. Bigu Welcome says, first of all, special summon one labyrinth monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So we're immediately eliminating the problem that regular welcome had. Summon it from fucking anywhere. Then return one monster you control to the hand. Hey, guys, in case you didn't realize this, that counts as a monster leaving the field via your normal trap effect. So you might think you're minusing by bouncing one of your own monsters. Actually, that's a plus. That just triggers everything.
You've plus 15 to now.
Yes. If you activate Big Welcome correctly, the fact that you have to bounce somebody back to hand isn't a minus at all. Often I think that I like to save it for like an Ariana who's already expended her special summon effect once this turn. You just normal summon her and then you can bounce her back with Big Welcome so you can use her again. But also, we've got a graveyard effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one fiend monster you control, or if you control a level 8 or higher fiend monster, target one card your opponent controls instead, return it to the hand. You can only use one Big Welcome effect per turn, only once that turn. So you are not able to do these back-to-back, but Big Welcome has a graveyard effect, which is actually pretty good, because it just becomes another copy of Compulse. So yeah, Big Welcome is another, that was another post-release card that was in Photon Hypernova. It's just another great shot in the arm to the archetype because it lets you, like I said, summon from hand, deck, or grave. And also, lets you bounce back, and it means that even if your opponent has no monsters on board, you can return your own monster to proc your effects that proc on normal traps. So yeah, it's just all around just a very solid card.
And I believe our last one is not a Labyrinth card, but it might as well be.
Yeah, this is very similar to the card which got translated as Boo Boo Game, originally Booby Game in the OCG, because they would, I understand, there's no way that the people who play this game would be normal if you called the card Booby Game.
Yeah, it just would not have, it was never going to happen.
Yeah, no.
Because it literally means like booby as in literally
as in like booby trap or like dunce.
Yeah, it's basically an idiot game.
Yeah. And that's a card that's basically secretly a live twin or evil twin card. Archfiend's Ghastly Glitch is a Labyrinth card in all but name because, as you can see, the two Labyrinth twins are on here doing, their wombo combo attack.
And it was just Demon's Glitch or Daemon's Glitch, right?
Daemon's Glitch, yeah. Daemon Glitch. Daemon Glitchy. Also, though, funnily enough, translated as Demon's Move, so this is like their special attack. But, the card art is just an action pose of the two smaller twins, and it's very simple. It's a normal trap that says, if you control a Fiend monster, target a card in the field, destroy it. Then, you can send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard.
And you will then get to summon a Fiend monster from your hand or graveyard that you just fucking sent off this, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
in
no.
the
There's so many great
with
combos
field
in
swap.
Labyrinth with this card because it's a normal trap that pops. It, puts card in your graveyard so you can summon them. It means that you won't accidentally draw Lovely Lady. And again, this card was first printed in Tactical Masters with all the Labyrinth cards. It is a Labyrinth card that is not named Labyrinth. Yeah. I don't know why exactly, other than just, we wanted some funny generic stuff.
Because it was a Labyrinth card, it would have popped two and sent one.
Yeah.
Because because
yes,
of the
if it
set
was,
Labyrinth effect.
If it was just Labyrinth Glitch and it wasn't Welcome Labyrinth, you wouldn't get the double pop. But that would probably, in its own way, be kind of an anti-synergy because it'd then be like, well, why isn't this a Welcome Labyrinth,
Yeah. I can definitely see in the design room like this being a Labyrinth card, and they just went, it's fine. It's
the main thing is because I think because it's so good, they didn't want it to be searchable by certain wombo combos. Like, they did not necessarily want you to, like, special Ariana add Ghastly Glitch, right?
Yeah, even if it wasn't a Welcome Labyrinth trap card in the design space, if it was a Labyrinth, it's immediately searchable. Yeah. And while granted, you can still set it from deck pretty easily.
I mean, yeah, there are cards that set from deck very easily, but also it's still settable from deck because of if it was a Labyrinth card, because if it was Stovey Torby, you can literally set it from deck. Because that's set a Labyrinth spell trap. So yeah, they probably went through some testing and realized how good the furniture was, and decided that, like, if it was Labyrinth Ghastly Glitch or, Labyrinth special move or whatever, that would mean that you, instead of playing, 3 copies, you'd probably be playing, like, technically, like, 12 copies because you'd have so many ways to get to it. For a card that is still ostensibly a pop 1, and then is also a, Beatrice, a Send to Grave, a Foolish Burial. And it's any Fiend, by the way, also. Like, this works with Absolute King Backcheck. It works with that one lady. What's her name? Diabolica.
Even with the field spell also summons any Fiend. So, like,
yeah,
like there is definitely synergy built into Ghastly Glitch and the field spell, and probably just some stages of figuring out where it should go.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, because it's technically a generic card, I think they decided, well, let's just make it generic so it's not searchable, and also we can do some stuff with it. I don't know if there's an Archfiend spell trap searcher that could, like, go through that Wumbus.
That wombo combo.
But yeah, it's just a whole thing. And actually, when did this card came out? It wasn't Dunas Nexus, so it's just It is funny because there is actually I just mentioned her, but there is actually another like weird card that you can play in Labyrinth that they added to the Labyrinth Master pack that isn't actually a Labyrinth but works very
Terrifying Toddler of Torment.
well. Not just Terrifying Toddler. I'm thinking I've pulled her up right now. Diabolica, the Draconique General.
Another one.
She's a level 8 fiend that says if a fiend monster except Diabolica is sent to your graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there, or hand, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, target a fiend monster in your graveyard except Diabolica, add it to your hand. So she's a level 8 fiend that also like procs off your other Labyrinth stuff to just give you, extra bodies.
Am I thinking of that one other card they added? Like, what was it, the Phantasm Lord or whatever the fuck it was, where it reveals itself in the hand, and you can't do anything to set cards?
Oh yeah, Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Yeah,
Lord.
I think
Yeah,
Lord
that
came
fucker.
out before Lab. He's kind of a weird
Heavenly
card 'cause
Prison he's not an old card, but he's been around.
Card is so weird to me, where it's basically a Draconid with like a lady instead of a head.
I'm also glancing through all the Archfiend cards. There does not seem to be a searcher. Like the only searcher is Archfiend Eris, which technically you can send off of you can send off of Glitch, but you can't get the Glitch through.
Yeah. Lord of the Heavenly Prison is another card that actually like has some synergy, but he is a rock, so it's not a perfect setup. That said, I want to pull up his card art because when the fuck else am I gonna do it? And he's a weird freak show. We'll pull him up on just so you can look at him.
Yeah, he's a guy you'll look at and you'll be like, oh god,
Yeah, I love that this guy does have an animation in Master Duel though. But yeah, notice there is a huge city full of towers below him. But yeah, he's a big guy. His hands are dragons. It looks like, because that's his hand. His head's over here.
Hold on, I'm trying to get a closer look. If that's birds for scale.
Here, let me resize
He's
it.
a thing. He's a kaiju made of other kaijus.
Let me blow this guy up a little bit. Angel for scale.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
got
technically birds for scale, but yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the sealed monster, like basically the sealed demise.
Wait a
Art
second.
sword.
I don't like that he has a 6-fingered hand and they all have eyeballs on them. And he has an eyeball in the middle of his palm.
Yeah,
And
this is
there's
some
blue-
Legend of Zelda shit.
And there's mouths on his joints.
Wait, guys, I just realized something. Blue on one side, red on the other, green in the middle. It's just the fucking Pokemon legendaries, XYZ, just all morphed together.
Well,
Oh
that
God,
might
this
work
is-
because
this
this
is the
guy,
news I opened.
this guy's name in Japanese is Tengoku no O, literally King of Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
They changed that as
It's-
Lord of the Heavenly Prison, but yeah. The main he's really good in Labyrinth because you can reveal him, and then prevent set cards from being destroyed. And if a set spell trap is activated, you can special summon it, and then you get to set a spell trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase. The problem is that if you're playing Welcome Lab, you're fiend locked, so you can't actually get his summon effect.
I just want to see this more from one angle, but this would be such a fucking pain to animate.
I mean, yeah, he's a weirdo when you see his
I'm asking for an animation team to kill themselves.
He's a little weird guy.
I am no longer asking. You will get. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's even to make this a fucking even to make a fucking 3D model, this would be a headache.
But before we go, we've crossed the 2 hours, so we're about to get out of here. I got to get back to either playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or I know Lucky tried to Helldivers earlier, but it sounds like it's still a little unstable after the latest patch.
I like one or two.
I'll
we
hop
didn't
on
have-
if you hop on.
We didn't have any problems earlier in the day, but it also was like it wasn't prime time hours.
Yeah, but we
Oh,
do
no.
have some follow up.
It's that.
Someone came back with the coffee.
He got milk at the store.
The coffee.
So yeah, we have new Drytron cards. We talked about this when we talked about Drytron. They're kind of an interesting deck where like the reason why Drytron is so broken and annoying has very little to do with Drytron. And that is a theme you're going to see recurred today. I recently watched MBT's did a clip. You know, they actually posted a clip of him talking about these new cards. New card to PogChampu. But I kind of agree with his opinion that, like, people reading these cards, people who play Drytron right now are not going to like them because these are cards that don't want you to go into floodgates like Heavenly Prison, or not Heavenly Prison, Herald of Perfectness. Heavenly Prison is the last guy we looked at. Or Amorfect or Pain, or apparently people are trying to run Magician of Black Chaos Max for the floodgate. This shit, you can't do that. But they are interesting cards. So let's take a look. First of all, we've got Drytron New 2. This is another Drytron name, which is actually important. I think we talked about this when we talked about Drytron, is that their problem is that you need a certain amount of Drytron names in your deck, and some of them are not that helpful. So New 2 is a, has the Drytron stat line. It's a 1 with 2,000, 0 defense. Can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by a card effect. You can use its first and second effect once per turn. You cannot ritual summon monsters the turn you activate either of these effects except machine monsters. So, Konami has done the smart thing and has locked you from using Drytrons as an engine to summon other ritual monsters.
But we can totally play Machine Angel Ritual in this deck, right?
Yeah. I mean, you probably still can. I don't actually know how often you'll New 2. Also, you still have full extra deck access. But if there's a Drytron card on your field, you can summon this card from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves. If this card's special summon, add a Drytron monster from your deck to your hand, except New 2. And it's named after a binary star system in New Draconis. And then this is the one we talked about. We've got a new ritual monster, Drytron Medionis equal D8D head, which
December
actually stands
Alpha
for
Draconids.
Yeah, December Alpha Draconids, which, as you can see from the note, that's the code terminology for a meteor shower, which was discovered in 2010 by a Japanese group. So I can see why they'd want to do this extra spice. But this is a level 12 Light Machine Ritual monster that's 5k. It's gotten even biggerer. You can finally beat up Chaos Max.
Chaos Max will now eat shit.
That said, this does mean you need to tribute 3 materials to summon him, which is a little rough, but doable. Because it's, attack up to. But first of all, go ahead.
It's annoying, but and I don't think that is going to re-break Drytron, but they're still neat little cards.
It does give Drytron an actual, like, proper engine to run as a pure archetype now, which was a thing I think they were missing before. But so you can summon this Medionis Drytron, so it is name checkable. One other Drytron monster you control can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And then up to twice per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, banish a Drytron monster from your graveyard whose total attack, Drytron monsters I should say, whose total attack equals or exceeds that monster's original attack, negate that activation if you do destroy that monster. Basically giving you an in-archetype Herald of Ultimateness or Perfection, but one that is capped at 2 negates. And also has to banish a shitload. And then 3, if this ritual summon card you control is destroyed by your opponent, you can special summon 1 ritual monster with 4,000 attack from your hand or deck. This is treated as a ritual summon. Hey, guess what? This means that you can actually run Chaos Max in Drytron. If you're not locked out by New, you can fucking summon Chaos Max from your deck or hand as a Garnet. And be okay, get rid of this, motherfucker.
It's incredibly funny as just a random, like, 4K one-up in your deck.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely run, just like how some decks would run Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon paired with Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi, right? Because that lets you summon non-effect monsters from your extra deck for free. And Blue Eyes Ultimate is the biggest motherfucker you can get. I would absolutely run a 1 of Chaos Max in this, just because you'd be like, oh, you think you're cute getting rid of my big bungus? Chaos Max.
You can't Albazoa. Albazoa has to be summoned through Dogmatic Calamity.
That's a slight rip.
The only other 4K bunguses outside of Drytron is Chaos Max, which, I mean, probably play.
You'd play the in archetype rituals as well if you're trying to build this strategy, but just including, like I said, include 1 Chaos Max for the funny one of. It's pretty spiced. And then they got a new continuous trap card.
It's the psychic damage, basically.
Yeah. And also, honestly, if they've popped your dad, summoning a Chaos Max who can't be targeted or destroyed is probably going to be like, well, shit, what do we do now?
Yeah, like Chaos Max jumps out of the deck. It's like, oh, well.
Chaos Max bursts
Right,
out of
that's the
DAD.
Oh my god,
Chaos
rips
Max-
him open
We can't.
like
By the way,
a
we can't see his
fucking-
full art, but you can
like
see a slight
Thanatos.
zoom as the header. DAD.
Yeah. Like old Thanatos just rips out from the inside.
DAD does not look great. He looks like he's the Serpentrion dragon, but with even more gubs, and so he's like gold, white, rainbow, and ice crystal now. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Like we can still play Helldivers 2. Let's go.
well, we'll I guess we'll check in and see.
we managed to combine Draconids and Quadrantids into one guy, and it got none of the good sides of either.
No, it's sedge. But we do have one last card here. They have a trap card. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this trap card's probably not that good. Meteora Drytron Aurora. It's a continuous trap that says you can only use each of its effects once per turn. If a Drytron becomes banished, you contribute a Drytron, target up to 2 of your banished Drytrons, and Drytron them back to your hand. Cute, but are you gonna have the board presence for that? But like I said, cute, probably a good card to recover your Drytrons easily. Second, you can reveal Meteonus Drytron in your hand. Ritual summon one machine ritual monster from your hand or graveyard by attributing machines from your hand or field whose attack totals or exceeds that monster. So it does give you an alternate ritual summon condition, but it is a continuous trap. So like it does let you ritual summon machine rituals, which is still just Drytrons, I think, on your opponent's turn, which is probably helpful. But it's still a continuous trap that's a little weird. Like I always like question with continuous traps based on how slow they are if they're good. The banish recycle effect is funny. You're probably not using that one. Using it to ritual summon Drytrons on your opponent's turn is probably where it's at if you have the Meteonus in hand, but still, it's an
like,
odd
fuck
one.
you.
Yeah, like the biggest problem with cards like these that name check other specific cards in your deck is like it's just one stage too much of setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's
Like
not like
Labyrinth.
you never. It's not. Sorry.
Labyrinth gets around that technically because they've got Welcome Labyrinth, but they've got many other things that are Welcome Labyrinth technically cards.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
yeah, I don't
while-
think
like,
there are. While Meteonus Drytron is pretty important to your combo and you have ways to get it back, and to search it, obviously, it's still just one card, so you at maximum can have 3 at any time.
It's also basically it's asking you to hold on to it for your opponent's turn, which may not always be the best option.
Yeah, I don't actually think the other Drytron guys are like that, like floodgatey. It's not like summoning Amber Factor Pain or Magician of Black Chaos Max on your opponent's turn.
I'm gonna reread them real quick.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, is Machine Ritual Monster still just Drytron? I did just rip that out earlier, but
I think it is.
yeah, I don't know if they've come up with any others.
Monster, ritual, machine. Well, we had a Magic Keys, Betos Buster and Gar's Glasser, but
Okay.
aside from that, it's only the Drytrons.
I mean, I guess you could try and make a Magic Key engine work. You know, Clavis is a 2K guy.
Yeah, I mean, like there is definitely a universe where Red Mage makes this deck work.
And
There's
you know,
definitely a universe
I'll chuckle and bat chest to myself when I see it on Sub Replay Friday.
Yeah, like there's definitely a world where I'm sure they could make like I'm sure someone could build a deck that functions with both, but in reality, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's see. There's Qua and Dra.
And like I was like sitting on this thought for like 2 hours, so I just wanted to say it before we cut it. Actually, it's not that relevant. It's tangential.
Okay, so do you want to save it for after we cut it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, Quadrantids is destroy all spell traps your opponent's controls, but that wouldn't work because... Actually, no, it would, because it just says if the levels of monsters were 2 or less. 0 levels are technically counts, right?
Yeah. And with Draconids, with Draconids, you can get the quick effect. You can get the quick effect to pop, to pop card your opponent controls, which would give you banished Drytron's use off the trap. So like, I guess it gives you a reason to play Draconids, but also like,
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I think the main thing is Meteora, like, would be you'd wait until your opponent makes a like starts setting back row, and you're like, okay, cute. You know, like, it's the Labyrinth mirror, the Labyrinth setup, right? Your opponent starts setting back row, and you're like, haha, that's funny. I'm going to flip up, Meteor, reveal Nova, and summon Quadrantids, blow up all spell traps. But it's still very awkward. It's probably not worth it, but it could be a card.
I can see the combo line in my head they imagined where you Meteorora Draconids, then you banish on your opponent's turn to pop cards. Then Meteorora lets you tribute one of your Drytrons you left on board to get those banished cards into your hand again.
It's definitely a lot of wishful thinking.
That's so much setup that I don't think
it's a lot of wishful thinking. Like, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I don't mind if Konami is like giving you like that kind of advanced level of support. Drytrons are not good right now, but that's because of hits to cards like Eva and stuff like that. Because when Drytron was good, it was problematic because it enabled a ritual soup deck that was very annoying.
Yeah.
So, like,
as I mentioned on the episode not too long ago, Drytron by itself being a ritual core deck was cool. In reality, it just allowed you to make a Herald with 27 negates.
Yeah, so if DAD is meant to, like, wean Drytron players off this playstyle and get them to actually play just their deck, that's fine. That works. We'll take that. But, you know, we'll see if people actually want to play it that way. Like I said, I agree with MBT's, like, opinion that, like, people who play Drytron right now probably don't like these cards because the style of play Drytron is play other ritual monsters as giant floodgates. This may actually, like, workshop a hypothetical world where you can play pure Drytron again, but that world is not yet here. We'll see. Shocking, I know that the crossover support between Drytron and Ursarctic didn't make Drytron or Ursarctic playable, but here we is.
It managed to just make both look worse.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, like, because these are also going to be in
mid.
Yeah, these are all going to be in Infinite Forbidden. That's shaping up to be a pretty interesting set. I like this new Fiendsmith stuff. That's a very cool little archetype they're doing with, like, light fiends. Definitely gonna have some gas with Fabled or Magic Muskets. Though sadly, also the Majesties are searchable that way, or the Vanities.
Yeah.
The Fiends, Vanities, and Majesties.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a little depressing, but we'll see if it actually matters.
I have also seen some psychotic U-Bell lines with the new card.
Yeah. U-Bell is a deck that will be good. You should start, like, prepping now because it's only got its first wave of Legacy support. U-Bell is going to start cooking soon. Yeah,
I could not say where it'll end up in a tier list, but it's going to be a deck that will do things, for sure.
It's similar to how, like, people were pre-warning the TCG based on OCG results that, like, Voiceless Voice would be good. Like, people weren't sure, but it's like, no. This took a while to go in the OCG, but there are Voiceless Voice tops. This is a deck you need to actually, like, think about. I don't know if it wins out over... The fact that
Voiceless Voice can top even when people were piling the deck like actual garbage, I feel comfortable saying.
Yeah.
Seeing some feature matches written on them. The fact that it could do that while people were, like brain dead piloting it and it was still topping. That's a sign that it's a pretty solid deck.
Yeah. But this is the point where we're going to wrap up. It is almost to 10:30. Just to remind you, we do have a Fail Portrayal poll. We do this, once a month on our Patreon. You support the Studio Omega Patreon at $5. You can vote on this poll. Your current selection of runners is Ancient Warriors, Artifacts, Goatee, Trap Tricks, and Valkyries. And it's a pretty low result. You got about 2 weeks left. Valkyrie's in the lead with 3. But immediately behind it, in a three-way tie at 2, is Ancient Warriors, Goatee, and Trap Tricks. I guess you guys don't want me to talk about swords, so you've put 0 votes on artifacts. Thanks. I can pronounce things like Caduceus and Vajram. But anyway, we'll see how that shakes out. You got like 13 days left. Valkyrie does have a lead, but it's very, very slight. So you have your chance to shake up this poll. And maybe we'll talk about a wide variety of things. But I am going to wind that down because I don't want to overstay too long. Got stuff to do, games to play. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and enjoying your Labyrinth.
Which I haven't get to my level-long creek, Omega.
God, you guys are already in there. Well, I have to take a bio break anyway, so I'll be there soonish, I guess. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Failed, Portrayal. And, yeah, we'll see you later. Next week, we'll be back with more Tactical Masters, and... I mean, which would you guys rather do next? Do you want to actually talk about Runic, or do you want to talk about Valence?
Valence.
Look, as much as I think Runic is a neat idea, Valence has a lot more to say.
Did we already kind of cover Runic already?
We talked a little bit about the monsters, but we didn't actually, like... I showed some of the card art where they showed the generator bosses, but no, we have not actually, like, seriously deep dived into, like, how Runic works and like, what the card arts mean.
Okay.
So yeah, no, we do still owe the people a Runic episode. And like I said, visually Runic is very interesting because it's almost entirely all spell cards.
And it also, like, because it was talked about with Generator basically, right? Because like they have the
we mentioned the overlap because Generator is definitely set in the same world. So there's some funny crossover in the art style, but yeah, Valence is going to be a very interesting archetype. Even though I could not stop myself from chuckling when talking about it. Sometimes Konami cooks too hard. Okay, they let too many chefs in the kitchen. I'll be sure to bring that joke back when we talk about Nouvelle. But okay, kids, that's going to wrap up Failed Portrayal for this week. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you back next week, and also see you tomorrow for more Final Fantasy XIV. I'm going to make it to Endwalker. I promise.
You gotta keep sprinting towards the end.
I will continue to
I
run.
will never let this go.
All right.
I will never let go until your legs break.
Bye.